6 o'clock, good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. The World Cup Thursday, the U.S., they fall to Turkey 3-2 as the U.S. surrendered the game-winning goal in the 98th minutes. The only win for Turkey in the tournament, but they're also eliminated already from the World Cup contention. USA coach Mauricio Pochettino fielded 9 new starters last night, but star midfielder Christian Pulisic was able to enter the match in the 58th minute. Pulisic has not played since the first half of the opener against Paraguay due to a calf injury. The U.S. will now move on to the round of 32, where they'll meet with Bosnia next Wednesday in Santa Clara, California. In other World Cup action yesterday, Ivory Coast, they move on to the knockout stage for the first time in their history after a 2-0 win over Curacao. And Ecuador, they stunned Germany with a 2-1 comeback victory, and they put them into the knockout stage. NFL news yesterday, dates were announced for the 2027 NFL Draft, as it'll be held in Washington, D.C., April 29th through May 1st. And coming up tonight, the NHL entry draft begins tonight with round 1 on ESPN at 7 o'clock, and rounds 2 through 7 will continue tomorrow on NHL Network. The Nashville Predators hold 11 picks in this year's draft, including the 10th overall pick tonight. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans involves. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off and running on your Friday morning. Good morning and welcome in on Ramon and Will, 615-737-1045. Our number as we wrap up your week on a beautiful, little humid, but pleasant morning in Music City, USA. Coming up, we will hit a number of things in different sports, different parts of the city, the country, even the world. As last night, the U.S. men's national team loses a bowl game. All it was, a bowl game. And now we're on to the regular season. It'd be like if you lost a bowl game and then the real season started, 5 days later. We'll get into that quite a bit this morning. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest joins us for his weekly visit at 7:20. We take a look at where the Titans' defense stands after minicamp. And the draft is back again for the best broadcast calls of all time. We've got Titans radio executive producer Rhett Bryan back in studio with us, filling in for Ramon. Justin Hawkins, our producer, myself, Will Bowling, on this Friday, June 26th. And Rhett, Justin Hawkins is in the endgame now.
He is.
Good morning.
Bambino is coming.
How are we feeling?
Yes.
There's that. There's that.
I don't know how to feel anymore. I'm very excited, very nervous, very terrified, because
due date is Sunday for those who are
due date
has already passed.
Okay.
Induction date is Sunday.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're hoping that it's before that, just because she does not want to be induced. But sometimes you just don't get everything that you want to. As long as we get a healthy baby with 10 toes, 10 fingers, that is all that matters.
Hey, I want to offer this to you, and I know you probably got plenty of help, but if you need something this weekend, I'm in the borough like you are. Holler at me. If you need me to bring you something to eat or
All right, come over to the bar. That's fine.
No, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. If you need something, reach. You know how to find me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it'll definitely. Pretty much anything in life takes an army, but especially for this, because the first few days I've heard are treacherous because you kind of just lose yourself and what day is it? And I know from experiences of what my family has said, what our friends who have just had a child who have said, and the trenches is what you get buried in the first few hours.
Sure.
Few hours, few days. So right now, we're just kind of curious to see how long the hospital visit will be, because if it's induction and she's not exactly ready to give birth, then it could take a while.
Rhett will not go to your house and replace all your cabinets like Dwight from The Office.
No, we're not doing that.
To bring an iPod or something.
Yeah. I'm not going that far.
If you replace my cabinets, I might lose my deposit since I rent.
That's correct.
Well,
Yeah, we don't need me to do that anyway.
Especially that. Well, excited for you, happy for you, praying for
Absolutely.
you guys, and man, it's gonna be awesome.
Absolutely.
It's one of those moments where you probably don't feel ready for any of it, and that's okay. It's just one of those moments in life. You take a leap of faith, and you just keep taking the next step, the next breath, and just keep plugging away. Just keep making the next right decision.
Yeah, the wildest decision is just to say, like, I'm about to be a dad, or like tomorrow or Sunday,
It's
like,
awesome.
I will be a dad, or Monday I will be a dad. That's just a wild.
Let me say that, and I say this all the time, and it'll sink in at some point. It's gonna be okay. It just doesn't feel like it right now because there's so many things and so uncertain. It's like you've passed the due date.
Yeah.
When is it gonna happen? All of these things. And it's funny, what you just said reminded me when I became a father many, many years ago. Of course, we went the unconventional route. My ex-wife and I could not have children of our own, and we adopted a little girl from China. Gracie will be 24 in September. And so we file our paperwork, our application, work on our dossier, our home study, the home thing. And about a month into that, then 9/11 happened. And so, first of all, international adoption was really hot at that time. And we went that route because, unfortunately, domestic adoptions here, a lot more expensive. There's always a chance that mom comes back and you got some issues there. And with China, the girls are just abandoned. Like it's a whole different world there.
Crazy.
Our daughter was abandoned. She was just wrapped up in a bunch of sheets or rags in a cardboard box in an open air marketplace when she was about a week old. But left there in a high traffic area where the mother knew that someone was going to find her. And then she spent her first nearly 9 months in the orphanage. But anyway, so it took from start to finish 22 months till we got her. Oh, wow. And so I understand that feeling in a different way of all of a sudden we go to this big conference room at the hotel in China, and her auntie who had taken care of her hands her over to me when it's our turn. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm a dad, just like that.
There it is, right?
And it is the most amazing. That's the part, Justin, that you will just relish every moment of, because it's scary because this little person is depending on you, like your wife has been depending on you and will depend on you. But it is the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's so awesome
to be able to hold that little thing in your arms and to call it your child, your son, your daughter, whatever it is in your life is just the wildest and most amazing thing that you could ever think of to bring into this world. But also the fact that when you go to the hospital on a certain day, whatever, and you're ready to give birth, you go through all these things, the nurses, the doctors, they take care of you, they take care of your child, and then you're ready to go and they say, hey, take care of it. This little baby.
Maybe I wouldn't say it once.
You just
take care of him.
Hey, here's your son. Good luck.
There you go.
Go have fun.
We're going to wheel her out to your transport vehicle home, because that's what we have to do. That's the law. That's how the rules work. Mm-hmm. And good luck. We're all counting on you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Have a good
have fun.
Puddin'.
Yeah, right.
So how many books have you read? Or have you guys been do you want to know every little thing? Is there I feel like there's got to be like a middle ground of you don't want to know everything. You might just kind of freak yourself out about parenting, about all these things, but also you want to be ready for what life can throw at you.
I haven't really read a book.
Okay.
I have a book. I didn't read it.
Okay. That's fine.
Probably
I've read more stuff like articles online.
That's probably for the best, because I have found young parents that try to read everything out of a book this is a bad correlation, because it's like going on WebMD and all of a sudden you can convince yourself you have like stage 4 cancer or something awful, and it's nowhere near any of that. There are lots of great hints, tricks, tips, whatever to these things to parents that have been through this. But there's no manual to this.
No.
It's individual to the person, the parents. The individual is the DNA.
Well, his name isn't Emmanuel either, so.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Friday and we're acting like.
But no, I'm serious. If you need me, just holler, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll see how next week goes. It'll be an interesting week for sure.
I get it.
So Team USA.
And life.
Yes.
Absolutely right.
Team USA drops one here, 3-2
Yes.
to Turkey.
Yes.
And I think the way you phrased it is exactly right. It was the equivalent of losing a college bowl game because they had already qualified for the breakout group. And so now the way it happened makes it a little sour.
Makes it way worse.
But now, and listen, this is a guy that I am a very casual soccer fan. You know, I don't know near as much about it as y'all do. But here's my synopsis. Here's my summary from a guy that I saw the first few minutes. I fell asleep. I went to bed because
Understandably so.
Got behind early. Christian Pulisic comes in at minute 58. There's a lift there. There's times that they feel a little overwhelmed by the technical aspect of Turkey.
No question.
And the rotation they kept trying did not work as well as they'd like. Plus, lots of guys were out of this one, yellow cards included. And they thought they were working their way to a 2-2 draw, and then everything happened towards the end. Turkey sneaks out with 1-3-2, and here we are. Is that kind of summarize?
Very well put. It's pretty perfect. Yeah. Pretty perfect. I think you got to give yourself some credit on
did you watch
knowing what you're watching because that's 100%.
I kind of looked at some highlights this morning and just read a couple things. I'm like, okay, this is how this went. Like they're down, they get back, and then this stuff happens. The great thing is, as disappointing as it was, and I'm sure you and Lucas had a great time last night at the Castle.
Awesome. It was so awesome.
At Geodis Park, but the letdown is like, kind of sour grapes. But got Bosnia next week.
Very different challenge.
Breakout group, and here we go. So put it behind you and keep trucking. And your yellow card guys are now clear.
Yes.
You're back to reset. Nothing in that, and let's go.
So a number of takeaways from this. And first of all, if you were at Geodis Park last night, you were in for an awesome party like Lucas and I were. It was so much fun. The food trucks, I had one of the best birria burritos of my life also, by the way. I forget what the name of the food truck was, and I wish I could remember. But tons of different food options, drinks, kids, games. We gave away some tickets to the World Cup while we were there, to the round of 32 games in Atlanta, which was pretty cool, but really, really cool. And we made Fox because there was a camera there filming everything at Geodis Park for the Fox, as we would say, Big Fox broadcast. So that was really cool. So the way the loss happened definitely made it feel a bit more frustrating. The thing I can equate it to the most is, if you're a Tennessee football fan, like the way Tennessee lost the Music City Bowl this past year to Illinois, in the buildup, you tell yourself, this game kind of is what it is. Great for momentum, but it didn't really hurt you that much if you lose. And then you find yourself walking out of the stadium being like, dang it, well, that sucks. And then you wake up the next morning and, okay, who cares?
It's not a stinging loss.
No.
It's a, damn it, they had that.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, well.
Right.
Let's keep
that's
moving.
how I went to bed.
I think especially considering how good the second half was. When Christian Pulisic came on, a lot of the problems that plagued the U.S. in the first half just were no longer an issue because they were having a difficult time retaining possession as Turkey was getting deep in the attacking third. They kind of had the U.S. boxed in a little bit, and they weren't able to find that outlet in possession to get the ball back up the field, get out of their own half, and sustain some possession and sustain some attacks. The gap between the United States' starters in defense and their backups is just really significant. Miles Robinson is a very athletic, technically skillful player, plays for FC Cincinnati in MLS. FC Cincinnati is the second worst defense in MLS. Miles Robinson is a big part of that back line. Mark McKenzie looked like a player that had not played a lot next to Miles Robinson. In the moments where Miles is releasing to go try to step up and make a challenge, or vice versa with Mark McKenzie, and there's just too many gaps within the back line for the U.S. last night. And you didn't have Tyler Adams, who has been one of the best midfielders in this tournament in interceptions, not just for the U.S., but for any midfielder in the entire tournament. You didn't have him there to clean up the mess either. Sebastian Berhalter, I thought, was good at midfield, but he's not the kind of player that's going to erase mistakes in the back line. And I think the same could be said for Matt Turner, who started in goal from the New England Revolution. A couple of moments where I would have liked to see him come off his line a little bit earlier and claim some crosses or even just make some point-blank saves in order to atone for some mistakes that his center backs made in front of him. If you are a casual U.S. fan, or maybe you watched that game last night and you're like, well, we kind of lost the momentum, right? Like, are we just not what we thought we were?
Let's not go that far.
The guys who made the mistakes to give up goals last night, as long as everybody stays healthy between now and Wednesday,
probably won't be out there very much.
Are not going to touch the field on Wednesday against Bosnia and probably the rest of the tournament.
Yeah. So there you go.
Austin Trusty gets the early goal, former Colorado defender who's spent a lot of time in Europe now. I thought he was actually pretty good playing out of position. He's a center back. He played left back last night. But when you saw the U.S. put their starters back in and put Serginho Dest back at right wing and have Alex Freeman back at right back and Christian Pulisic on the wing and Weston McKennie, there was no Fuller and Balogun. There was no Anthony Robinson. Every mistake was just a little bit more significant because you didn't have the star players to make up for it, I think is about the simplest way I can put it. But group was already clinched. You knew you were playing Bosnia before this game was played. Turkey is really good. I mean, on paper, coming into the tournament, I thought Turkey was better than the United States. I think the only reason the U.S. was favored to win this group is because this tournament is being played on U.S. soil, and you have the home field advantage part of it. But Arda Güler, Turkey's best player last night, he starts for Real Madrid. Kenan Yildiz is a player that is valued at $100 million on the transfer market for Juventus in Italy, who is Weston McKennie's teammate in Turin. And you had a number of really good players last night who playing with nothing to lose for Turkey that, truly nothing to lose last night because they knew they were already knocked out. Not shocked the way this went, but I was disappointed to see the way the U.S. conceded the last goal to lose 3-2 late.
Yeah, for me, the notes that I took, the way that Turkey started the game, very sloppy, could not connect on any passes whatsoever. It kind of took until the hydration break for them to kind of settle in and realize they don't really have anything to play for. You saw them kind of step back, take a breath. That's when they started connecting their passes and finding these open channels that the U.S. defense was really giving up. To your point on Matt Turner, I'm not a huge fan of him because he doesn't really step up beyond the six very often. He doesn't attack the ball in the air.
A bit more static. Yep.
Exactly. There was a lot of points whether it was a free kick or a set play, that he would just kind of stand put on his line and not step up beyond that six. Also, when you look on the attacking side of the ball for the U.S., Ricardo Pepe he could not hold the ball at all. It was not his best night.
No. Not his best night.
He was put off the ball constantly. Mm-hmm. He was not very quick. And the other thing, too, when Pulisic entered the game, you saw the game change because of not just because of those mistakes were kind of wiped off or whatever, but you saw that they were more comfortable. Mm-hmm. They had the guy that controlled the game.
They had an outlet.
Yeah. There was no guy... There is no man in the match that could control the game or the pace of play.
Right. Everything was a bit too slow.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I think Tim Weah had a rough night. Yes. I hated that for him because he was a starter in the last World Cup, and I think he was offside 3 times in this game last night. I think one of them I think was on, and the assistant referee just kind of missed it. But frustrating. It happens. I mean, it's still the most points the U.S. has ever had in a group stage in their history in the World Cup.
Yeah. And this is keep that going.
96-year-old tournament.
Yeah, just keep that going.
Yeah, the only other time the U.S. has won twice in the group stage was in 1930. Yeah. So that's the kind of company that this team is keeping. So 6 points. The U.S. has still never won more than 2 matches at a World Cup ever in the 96-year history of this tournament. So a win of the round of 32 against Bosnia next Wednesday would set a new U.S. men's national team record for wins at the tournament. They will certainly be favored to do that. Bosnia literally, Rhett, could not be more different of a challenge than what Turkey was last night. Turkey wanted to have possession. They wanted to play with the ball. They want to pick you apart. Bosnia is going to sit. They're going to let you have the possession and say, get by us. I dare you. And the second you try to put too many numbers, we're just going to kick it long and we're going to sprint the other direction and try to counter. And I liked that this team got to play in a game where, A, they had emotional pressure, And B, they had real pressure of being pressed when they had possession. This team had not seen a challenge like that since before the tournament started, and ultimately they could really be better for it in what they saw last night from Turkey. So
here's the thing.
We'll see.
Let's just this weekend have a turkey sandwich, wash it out. Let's go. Let's just keep going.
It's well said. Very well said. 615-737-1045 is our number. We are live for the 1045 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. Bill Barnwell ranks the best playmakers, running back, wide receiver, and tight end groups in the NFL. The Titans are in a much better spot going into this season than they were last season. We'll tell you about it coming up next. Friday morning off and running on 104.5 The Zone. Justin's going to be all right this weekend.
Yes, he is.
As his family grows by one.
He and his bride are going to be parents. Very exciting time. This whole show's has exciting times.
Yeah. Big life stuff.
Ramon's the new color analyst at Titans Radio. His boys are doing good. Keisha's doing good. You just got married. He's having a baby. Like, everybody's growing up right in front of me.
Very thankful. Was this song more for the U.S. or for you, or both?
It's what spoke to me.
Okay.
I don't know. Sometimes I look through our log and I find a song that what speaks to you at the moment. And I feel like we all need to, on this Friday, we're loving this Friday. It's towards the end of June, and we need to be all right.
Positivity.
Exactly.
I know you're going to get into this segment about Bill Barnwell's top 25 or all 32, how they rank with their skill positions, playmakers, NFL-wise, and where the Titans fall in this. But I want to just stop for a PSA just for a second. A friend of Titans Radio, Matt Miller of ESPN, if none of y'all have seen this, he had a horrific car wreck in Missouri last week. And he had a post on X about it, multiple fractures, fractured ribs. But then he didn't even lead with, he buried the lead in this. Like, he lost his left arm. They had to, in a life-saving move, amputate his left arm. Well, then pops up a GoFundMe. And let me say this. For whatever people are talking about with fantasy leagues and whatever that is, and saying this is a scam, like, when he shows up on camera to talk about draft prospects again, he's not going to have a left arm.
It's insane.
I don't know where the lack of compassion for another human being is, but Matt Miller, by all accounts, with any interaction I've had with him and how he handles himself, is a good dude.
Absolutely is.
And look, if whatever else is whatever else, but this, it's amazing to me. Like, there's been a great outpouring, first of all. But the people that are out there just poking at that, I'm like, wait a minute, man. This dude, he could have died.
I know.
I mean, he said a life-saving amputation of his left arm.
Right.
So let me just say this. He's not making Pat McAfee money, so it doesn't surprise me that a GoFundMe is up. And listen, we are all blessed and fortunate to be doing what we're doing wherever we are, everybody in the chat, everybody out there listening. And man, if you've ever had something bad happen to you, you don't realize, unless you are extremely wealthy, which that is not me at all, how things can take a turn for you financially. And, you know, draft contributors on ESPN, I wouldn't think are making a terrible, amount of money, plus whatever health care is for him. But I can only imagine what his rehabilitation is going to be like, what his hospital bills are going to be like. Like, it's going to be way up there past insurance. Yeah, so I'm just like, man, I feel bad for him. Like, I'm going to put something in the pot for him because he's a good dude. He does good work. But man, it's just discouraging to see people attack why he has a GoFundMe. I'm like,
it's totally insane to me. I was shocked to see a lot of that yesterday too, and we'll echo everything you just said. I mean, in every interaction we've had with Matt, and Matt's been on this show quite a bit, and he has been nothing but kind and nothing but open with his time to
and a professional,
talk about whatever.
Just
right.
a pro,
good on air, good off air, just a good guy to be around.
Had a horrible, yeah. I mean. And people are saying, well, he was probably texting and driving or drunk. I'm like, crazy, why are we jumping to conclusions here?
We are so much more
alike. And if that ends up being the case, then,
Twitter would never tell you that.
Yeah, and if that ends up being the case, then he'll have to answer for that. But the bottom line is he's missing a limb. That is as close to death as you can get without dying.
It's a crazy life change moment. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's the end of my TED Talk.
No, it's well said. And We went ahead and retweeted the link to his original tweet and also the link to the GoFundMe at Ramon Will. He is on Twitter at NFL Draft Scout. Matt Miller is, if you would like to contribute there. And I encourage you to do so. He needs it, deserves it, and is a really, really good guy. And
I'm just speaking on the compassion for another human being, whether 100%. You know him or not, if you enjoy his work or what. Like, anyway, I just
100%, totally agree.
I don't understand how people can be so cynical, but I also don't know how those people got to that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's well said.
Anyway,
well said. So at ESPN.com, Bill Barnwell ranks the best playmaker groups: running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And this time last year, Rhett, he had the Titans 32nd. This season, they check in at 25 on this list. And he gives the reasoning for this at ESPN.com, saying, unsurprisingly, a Titans team that did precious little to surround 2025 first pick Cam Ward with talent on offense didn't get the results it wanted. Says, in last year's column, I wrote, this feels like a receiver group where there could be 3 new starters in 2026. He says, if Carnell Tate looks like Emeka Ibuka did as a rookie with the Bucs last fall, the Titans should be just fine. Leaving his price tag aside, Wan'Dale Robinson is a perfectly reasonable fit as the wide receiver 2/3 option with his ability after the catch. Calvin Ridley has averaged an even 2.0 yards per route run in Tennessee, which is an above average figure, but he is coming off a fractured fibula and turns 32 during the season. Bill Barnwell goes on to say, if the 3 wideouts don't perform, there's not much behind them. That's where I started to disagree a little bit. Elikai Manor and Chimere DK, he says, were overmatched in starting roles a year ago. The Titans replaced Chika Okonkwo with blocking tight end Daniel Bellinger, and nominal receiving tight end Gunnar Helm averaged just over 8 yards per catch as a rookie. Tony Pollard continues to soldier on as an eminently solid veteran back, but the Titans need Carnell Tate to develop quickly to give this offense some much-needed star power.
All right, let me say this. In his preamble lead-up, as he's going through the Emeka Ibuka comparison, if he has a rookie season of that ilk, Carnell Tate should be fine. That should be, and I get what he says about Wan'Dale Robinson and Calvin Ridley, 32 years old almost and coming off of a broken leg. But I'm with you. Then he told on himself that he is a national writer when he said they don't have much behind them in Ellick and Chim. Now, before I go, like everybody thinks I'm like the ultimate Titans homer here, but they're not empty chairs. And they played a hell of a lot of football last year. So I'm not saying they're both number 1 or number 2, but they are very capable of doing things and catching the football from Cam Ward. And then I understand how he looks at the tight end part of this, but I don't think he or anyone else is prepared to see what Daniel Bellinger and what Gunnar Helm are about to do in that tight end part of things, as we discussed yesterday on the show.
Yeah,
with Justin Mello about how he thinks they could be room for more 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets, not 13 like the league did a lot in an uptick last year with 3 tights. But he lost me right about that part right there, and I'm like, I agree with where you're going, and then you took a right, and I'm like, whoa, hold on a second.
And I think too, Rhett, there's even an opportunity for some 21 personnel as well, and have 2 backs, 1 tight end. And I think there's a world where you're going to see Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard on the field together again this year, and maybe you are a bit more comfortable doing that with the additional depth you have at running back.
Yes, that is certainly options there. And I welcome a 2-back look. I love like exotic things like that, where there's a diamond formation or whatever. And you're like, who's getting it now? How's this going to work?
Right.
Now, if you've seen practice, kind of who's going to get it. But,
sure, right.
But anyway, I think this is fair in his assessment, going from 32 to 25, considering how that's changed with the number 4 overall pick in Carnell Tate, who is apparently very capable of doing what he needs to do. and the addition of Wan'Dale Robinson. But I think there's a huge discount on the departure of Chig Okonkwo in there. I think he's overvaluing that as his departure because I think that part of it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And he is hugely undervaluing 2 second-year receivers in Chim and Ellick in the back part of that rotation.
And I mentioned the 21 personnel thing, too, because you've just seen Tajay be utilized in that role his whole career here. He has always, when he's been healthy, been put out there at times with another back. And I'd love to see how much you could do that over the course of a 17-game season if he is healthier for more of it. I think the question on DK and Iamaner for me is how much more do they benefit from not attracting a number 1 or number 2 corner? How many times last season were they asked to run routes against somebody's best defensive back, considering there was no one else to take some of that attention away? I think DK especially may get similar or even less target share overall, but may have more production when he is targeted because partly the defensive backs that are going to be guarding him, if you've also got to deal with Carnell Tate.
He's going to get some things by default.
I think so.
And they're not, whoever the opponents is, back rotation of those corners, not their best 1 or 2 or what. But yeah, I see what you're saying. And if he's put in the work, which both of those guys are putting in the work, he may be able to take advantage of those things.
And it wasn't everything. Like there were moments where Ellick Iamaner, the football was uncatchable because of the pressure that was on Cam Ward and how quickly the ball had to come out.
That's right.
There were also some moments where Ellick Iamaner maybe didn't have drops, but was getting enough of his hands on a football to say, you should probably make that catch. He looks really, really good in the work that he's done, the additional steps that he's taken to look like a pro over the course of this offseason. And I totally agree with you. It feels to me like it's kind of national guy taking a step down to the Titans and saying, all right, well, these 2 guys are just going to be what they were last year. Because the other thing you can't really do is just assume that Chimere Dike and Ellick Iamaner are the same quality of receiver that they were as rookies on a team where they were being asked to be wide receiver 1 and 2.
Well, and here's the one thing, and here's what that got me: a nominal receiving tight end in Gunnar Helm, who averaged just over 8 yards per catch as a rookie. Well, first of all, he's a rook, and he wasn't the number 1 tight end. And again, year 1 versus year 2, like, let's just wait. Let's not roll out our jump to conclusions, Matt, here. But yeah, that's interesting that he had that take. I'd rather be 25th than 32nd.
Well, right. And I think that's probably in the neighborhood of if we were doing this exercise, I think it's about where the Titans would be. I think
overall it's fair.
I think so too.
I think Bill Barnwell was fair in that. I just think he went back to I'm national guy
some of
when
the
he
reasoning,
got to a certain point with his reasoning.
Right. For sure.
I kind of think that if the Titans had a little bit better options at the tight end position, they would be a little bit higher on this list because if you just look superficially at just the Titans receiving core and how they've upgraded in general, I think they actually compare more favorably in the NFL, and they would be ranked higher than 25th. But, of course, you have to look at all 3 position groups, and you brought down a little bit. But in terms of Wan'Dale Robinson and Chimere Dike, you can see matchup problems when they're on the field together. And this gadget role that he calls Wan'Dale in New York, I think you could switch that and say Chimere Dike is going to be more of that gadget role here in Tennessee. And then on certain plays when Wan'Dale and Chim is on the same field together, that Chimere Dike is going to be this kind of go route. Let's find him deep. He's going to be the speedy guy where Wan'Dale's going to cut inside, and you're going to find these like slant routes and stuff like that, like he has in practice. And Ramon says, he went up and got the ball and said, "Nobody touched me." Like he's going to be that kind of guy that you're going to find sneaky in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And as far as the tight ends go, Daniel Bellinger, he averaged about 9 yards per target.
Yeah,
where Gunnar Helm was about 5 yards per target. I'd like to see those kind of flipped a little bit. Let Bellinger be your workhorse, get it kind of yards after catch kind of guy, and let maybe Gunnar Helm be your sideline guy.
Well, I think what you're probably going to see is Bellinger be more of the red zone target and the bigger body on short yardage situations or low red zone. because of as
think you
big
could
of a
also say
target as he
this.
is.
I think you could also say the same about Gunnar Helm.
I think you're right.
I think you have options there. I think one of the reasons he discounts the tight end part of this is because Chig was sneaky good fast and, could do all those things. Daniel Bellinger has always had this thumbnail on him that he is this yeoman's work inline blocker, and his blocking skills are very good. I'm telling you, his hands are better than people realize. Ask the people in New York who covered the Giants.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and that was his thing. I remember seeing him interviewed through the draft process, and he goes, I want to prove that I have hands. Now, a lot of guys are going to say this when they're big, inline blockers, and they're going to, he goes, but I have, some skill set to this, and I want to be able to prove that. I think he's going to get his chance. I'm not saying he's going to have, 900 yards and 12 touchdowns. I'm just saying he's going to be better than people realize.
So here's a question for both of you guys. Between Chimere Dike, Elikiah Manor, and Gunnar Helm, who do you think could have the biggest jump from 2025 numbers statistically to the 2026 production that they're going to have between those three guys?
And you said between
the three second-year guys, Elikiah Manor, Chimere Dike, or Gunnar Helm?
I immediately go to Gunnar Helm. And I'm thinking in terms of targets, in terms of catches, and production.
I think it's a safe bet.
But I would not count Elikiah Manor out. Now, we also know there's two new receivers and weaponry in this in Carnell Tate and Wan'Dale Robinson, and there's one football. So we'll see how this kind of fleshes out, but I would immediately go to the Gunnar Helm part of it because he is going to see more targets and involvement in this. So I'd go in that order. I would go him, I would go Gunnar Helm, and then I'd go Ellick, and then I'd go and you may be right. Jayhawk may be right. Maybe Chim is the guy that's the deep shot because he's got the speed, and if he, can ward off or blow by a defender and catch the football and go make something happen with it, then he can stack up some numbers quick.
Right.
I just want them all to succeed, of course.
Yeah,
but,
I'm with you.
So who else was in this piece? What was his top five like?
Let's do that when we come back. Top
I like
five
that.
on the list. 615-737-1045. Personally, I think on paper, the team that he's got fifth should be first. I'll tell you why. Coming up next. What's going on? It's Will Bowling for my friends at Lee Company. Hey, summer's heating up, and so are the career opportunities at Lee Company. Their team is hiring skilled tradespeople in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, sheet metal, and more. With 80-plus years in business, Lee Company offers competitive pay, top-notch benefits, and free training to help you grow. Make your next career move your best one yet with Lee Company. You can apply today online at leecompany.com/careers. That's leecompany.com/careers from the folks who have over 80 years of experience serving Middle Tennessee. Lee Company has been trusted since 1944, and it's a multi-award-winning great place to work. So if you're looking for that next opportunity, head on over to leecompany.com/careers. That's Lee Company. All you need. Wrapping up hour number one this morning on Ramon and Will. Rep Brian, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, 615-737-1045, our number. So we've been talking about this Bill Barnwell piece that is ranking 1 to 32, the best playmakers at running back, wide receiver, and tight end groups in the NFL. The Titans check in at 25 on this list. Number one, Rep Brian, the Detroit Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Sam Laporta.
That's a pretty damn good quartet.
Yeah, I don't have a big issue with that. But I think if you could guarantee health, which there's an electrical substation nearby that may say otherwise. I say sarcastically because I don't think that's actually a big deal. But if you could guarantee health for the San Francisco 49ers, I am very high on the Mike Evans edition for them. And you throw in George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Christian Kirk, who is a 49er now, and then the number 33 overall pick, which was seen by many as a big reach, but a very talented and very athletic receiver in Dejon Stripling.
From Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, and formerly playing with Cam Ward earlier in his career as well. If you could guarantee health, and obviously you can't, but I think that would be the number one skill position group in the NFL.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Because when you think of just the Christian Kirk and the George Kittle of it all, I'm sorry, the Christian McCaffrey and the George Kittle of it all, and then you pepper in a veteran Mike Evans who's headed for a gold jacket. All right, so let's look at who's 2, 3, and 4.
Yep, L.A. Rams come in at 2. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. Not a team that uses tight ends as much, catching the ball, more so extra blockers and flat routes underneath stuff in 13 personnel.
But they're going to have wicked numbers.
Right.
They're just, they're going to produce like crazy.
Cincinnati's 1-2 punch at receiver still being as good as anyone's puts them in this discussion with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Chase Brown at running back.
Yep.
And then number 4, before San Fran, who's 5th, like we said, Atlanta Falcons with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and now the extended contract of Kyle Pitts.
Now, let me say this. That's the one out of this top 5 that I'm not sure is top 5. And I base it on this. Detroit Lions and that group being number 1. What do they have? Quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We know Matthew Stafford with the Rams skill set at 2. We know Joe Burrow at 3. We know Brock Purdy at 5. The Atlanta Falcons, is this the resurgence of Tua Tagovailoa? And I'm not trying to discredit Bijan Robinson, Drake London, or Kyle Pitts. I'd love to have any of the 3 of them or all of them, whatever. But I don't know about that.
I think it's very fair. I would agree.
If they had their guy, whoever that is, at quarterback and their proven track record with the quarterback, I would feel more comfortable about seeing them at number 4 in this. And that's what these lists are for this time of the year, is debating these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you that if you could just put a check mark by health, the San Fran unit of skill makers would be right there at the top, if not at the top.
Rest of the top 10, Arizona Cardinals at number 6 with Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Jeremiah Love, and Trey McBride.
And again, what's your quarterback situation?
Mm-hmm.
Jacoby Brissett, very serviceable.
Yep.
Has had stretches where he's been fine, but there's a contract dispute there, and you got no other plan of succession behind him. So that's a little surprising that one's as high as it is. But when you look at the core of the talent, I get that part.
And
I
how
see
much
that's,
Yeah, how much of a pot? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Trey McBride being as productive as he is, too.
Oh, God, he's ridiculous. He's
that
what we were talking about yesterday with what modern-day tight ends in the NFL are. They're big, giant, wide Trey
100%.
McBride is scary good. But when I think about the Lions in this, think about how young Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, and Sam Laporta are. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown is, he's still quite young, but golly, man, that's a lot of talent.
They're a team very much in a window. Very much in a window. Dallas Cowboys 7. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Javonte Williams, Jake Ferguson.
That's a pretty good unit.
I think so,
That's
too.
a pretty damn good unit.
Number 8, Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Jawan Jennings, who, of course, is a Minnesota
Jawan
Viking.
Jenningson.
That's
Everybody else has got a son in their name.
Right. Philadelphia Eagles, who now have Mekhi Lemon, Hollywood Brown, Dontavian Wicks, in addition to Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert.
Pretty good group.
And then rounding out the top 10, A.J. Brown's new team, the New England Patriots. For A.J. Brown, Romeo Dobbs, Mac Hollins, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, and Travion Henderson.
See, I don't see that being top 10.
They were ranked 30th on this list coming into last year. How about that?
Well, and I think counting for Kyle Williams in year 2 as part of that, certainly the additions and the trade for A.J. Brown and bringing in Romeo Dobbs is a huge part of that. I don't see that as top 10. I see that, and that's why this is top 10 on paper.
Right.
In a guy's opinion.
I agree. Number 32, I think, is pretty easy within all of this.
Okay.
The Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have given Malik Willis a mountain to climb in his first season as a full-time starting quarterback in the NFL. Devon Achane is the positive, and then aside from that, Bill Barnwell does not hold back. He writes at ESPN.com, "This might be the worst receiving core I've seen assembled on purpose by an NFL team in recent memory."
Wow, he did not hold
Did
back.
not pull any punches. He says, third and fourth wideouts such as Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell are the veterans being forced into starting roles. Third-round picks Chris Bell and Caleb Douglas, who might be fourth or fifth wideouts in other lineups, are going to be pushed into the lineup by mid-season. Now, I don't agree with that on Chris Bell. I don't think Chris Bell is a wide receiver 4 or 5 caliber player. I think the only reason Chris Bell was drafted where he was is because he's coming off of a torn ACL.
That's it. No, listen, Chris Bell has a chance to be healthy and rolling a good 2.
I totally agree.
A good 2.
And they're banking on him being a 1 there when he is healthy, I think.
But, yeah, the bottom line there is they traded Jalen Waddle to the Denver Broncos, and they just don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. And listen, that has been a reshuffle. I mean, think about this. They've reshuffled that bad boy from top to bottom. I mean, you've got new head coach in Jeff Hafley. You've got new general manager.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is. And if things don't go well, that could be your first overall pick in the NFL draft next year. I don't.
And all of a sudden, Malik Willis's new opportunity and big contract might essentially be a 1-year deal.
Yeah, because when you see the national pundits, did you see this a couple days ago when they dropped exactly what the dates are for Washington, D.C. hosting the NFL draft in 2027? They said, it's April 29th and it's round 1. All of them are like, this is going to be an incredible draft. And they weren't talking about the location. They were talking about the class, the potential class in this.
Right.
All the quarterbacks. And that's also peppered in with, the recent news about Brendan Sorsby. And, he's been blocked from all of that. And they're like, no, we're not having a supplemental draft.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, son, have a seat. But whoever is in the hunt for those first handful of picks next year, I mean, there's a wealth of riches in a lot of good positions.
And Malik Willis will be hoping he can play well enough to earn himself Jeremiah Smith or Cam Coleman to throw to.
Wow.
Versus earning his franchise Arch Manning to throw to whoever is still there.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. It feels like there are 3 teams, Rhett, for me. Miami, Arizona, and New York Jets, who have put themselves in position to contend for the top quarterbacks available in 2027.
Because of their quarterback situations. And listen, I'm happy for Malik. I'm glad he got the bag. This is great. And I want to see him succeed because Malik is a fantastic human being.
Agreed.
But the malpractice, if you will, in New York with the Jets and with the Cardinals. Birdnals, Mac, the Birdnals.
Yep.
They have really put themselves. I mean, the Jets trade for Geno Smith, and then whatever's going on with him with this domestic situation, like that's cast a cloud over this. And he was going to be, I think, a bridge quarterback in this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then, the Bidwell family and the Cardinals have created their own mess with what they've done. They moved on from Kyler Murray, and all of a sudden, a wily vet like Jacoby Brissett's like, well, we're gonna have to talk now. You have to pony up a little bit because I'm gonna be the guy. No, let's pay me a little more.
Exactly.
Like I'm the guy.
Exactly right. 615-737-1045 is our number. Going to talk about the Titans defense a lot this morning as we do a roster reminder segment on them coming up at 8:20, the way we did with the Titans offense yesterday in hour number 2. What kind of expectations can we set for Robert Saleh's first Titans defense coming up in 2026? We'll talk about that coming up next.
7:03. Good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. In the World Cup Thursday, the U.S. fall to Turkey 3-2 as the U.S. surrendered the game-winning goal in the 98th minutes. The only win for Turkey in the tournament, but they're also eliminated already from the World Cup contention. USA coach Mauricio Pochettino fielded 9 new starters last night, but star midfielder Christian Pulisic was able to enter the match in the 58th minute. Pulisic has not played since the first half of the opener in the World Cup against Paraguay due to a calf injury. The U.S. will now move on to the round of 32, where they'll meet up with Bosnia next Wednesday in Santa Clara, California. In other World Cup action yesterday, Ivory Coast moved on to the knockout stage for the first time in their history after a 2-0 win over Curacao. And Ecuador stunned Germany with a 2-1 comeback win and puts them into the knockout stage. NFL news yesterday, dates were announced for the 2027 NFL Draft as it'll be held in Washington, D.C., April 29th through May 1st. Tonight, the NHL entry draft begins with round 1 on ESPN at 7 o'clock, and rounds 2 through 7 will continue tomorrow on NHL Network. The Nashville Predators hold 11 picks in this year's draft, including the 10th overall pick tonight. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into hour number 2 on this Friday morning. Good morning and happy Friday. Thanks for hanging out with us on Ramon and Will. He is Titans radio executive producer Rhett Bryan. Justin Hawkins behind the glass. Myself, Will Bowling. 615-737-1045 is our number. Brent Hubbs of AllQuest joins us for his weekly visit coming up in 15 minutes. Later on in the show, we are drafting the best broadcast calls of all time. And we are just helping Rhett the sand drop through the hourglass for Justin Hawkins, providing a distraction with potential delivery day coming for the newest member of his family this weekend.
It's a good
like
distraction.
sands through the hourglass.
That's exactly right.
So are the days of our lives.
Not just sitting there watching the clock turn or thinking.
No, I'm actually busy because I'm trying to pull a bunch of these calls so that we can play them later. So I've got some of my ideas. Rhett sent me some ideas from yesterday that I got to pull. If you want to do the same, that way I'm going to have about maybe, 30 different YouTube clips pulled up ready to go so I can just trigger fire.
I got you.
So that's what I've been doing when I can. Yeah, hour 1 went by quick.
Very quick.
Mostly because of that, but yeah.
Very glad.
Because we're having fun.
Absolutely
It's
right.
Friday.
All of that.
It's
Absolutely
Friday.
All
right.
of that.
Friday
That's
and
all
we're
I
acting
like.
like it.
Exactly.
Friday and we're acting like it. So looking through some of the numbers yesterday, Rhett, as we prepare to talk about the Titans defense more in depth in hour 3 and go position by position on where their strengths are, what some of their weaknesses are, and what we can expect from them in Robert Saleh's first season as the Titans head coach and architect of the defense. It is interesting how quickly the Jets defense went from last in the NFL in scoring defense and total defense in 2021 under Robert Saleh in year 1 to the 4th best scoring and total yardage defense in the league in year 2. No one had more than 6 sacks on Robert Saleh's first defense in 2021. You had a young John Franklin Myers, a young Quinnen Williams, who were learning how to be NFL defensive linemen. But when I look at the roster that Robert Saleh inherited in New York and the one that has been put together for him in Tennessee, I think there is a much better launching point for Robert Saleh defensively now than the last time he was a head coach going into year 1. You had Bryce Huff, who was a young player then, C.J. Mosley, Quincy Williams at linebacker. And again, Quinnen Williams and John Franklin Myers were good players. They were not close to what they are now at this point of their careers. When you look at this defense, what is a reasonable expectation, and what are you most confident in this defense being good at in year 1 under Robert Saleh?
I'm going to start with the thing that was plaguing them down the stretch of the season last year, and that's being able to pride themselves in stopping the run. I would go there, and I think that's going to be improved. The thing that I want to improve, I don't know how good it's going to be, but based on how you set that up, I maybe need to adjust my expectations. But points allowed, I need to see better in points allowed because they allowed 28 points per game, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was with a whole lot of different personnel in that 3 levels of that defense. So when you think about a young John Franklin Myers and very young Quentin Williams, JFM is a wily vet now, and Jeffrey Simmons is a hulked up version of Quentin Williams, or maybe Quentin Williams is a version of Jeffrey Simmons in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like the front 7 that Salas got to work with. And, I think it's how the secondary kind of plays out in this as part of it. And like I've been saying, the health and availability and launch point for Kevin Winston Jr. in year 2, I want to see him, if we can have him copy what Cedric Gray did from year 1 to year 2, this thing's going to be a lot better. And by the way, it looks like Alontae Taylor on his break got engaged.
Yeah, congrats to him.
Congrats to him, awesome. Coffee County native.
That's right.
But yeah, listen, I love the idea of Robert Saleh coming in here and going, okay, here's what we're going to, and Gus Bradley. I mean, some good defensive minds in this. Now, it's a different game plan and just even base alignment than what Jeffrey Simmons has been used to, Amani Hooker's been used to. A little less for Amani because he patrols what he patrols back there in that back third. But up front, it's going to be an adjustment for some guys.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, Red, I think if you could guarantee, and it's a big if, but if you could guarantee health for your top 2 corners in Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott and Jeffrey Simmons, I think this is at worst a top 20 defense statistically in the NFL. Now, that's guaranteeing health for your 3 most important players, in my opinion, on the entire defense, in those 3 guys. And I think specifically at outside corner, you are still a little thin at that position to where you need Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott to play up to the expectation of what they were as free agent corners available to you. I think the big question is how Alontae Taylor adjusts back to being an outside corner again full-time, if that is the vision that this team has for him. And look, if they feel like there's a matchup where they need him more inside or a team's number 1 receiver is the slot receiver, you might see him follow somebody's number 1 at times as well. I don't think he's just going to be an outside corner, but I do think you're going to see him play there based off of what they have said to us in press conferences, based on all the discussion we've heard. It sounds like he is slotted more for an outside role than he is a full-time nickel role that he had last year in New Orleans. And to be fair as well, their money talks within that as well.
Oh,
with the contract that they gave him. You're not paying him to be a full-time nickel corner with what they're paying.
And let's go to that part next. We need Marcus Harris to make a second-year jump in securing that nickel spot.
It's a big question.
And he's been getting a lot of work in those OTAs. He's been getting work in that stuff. He's seen a lot of reps in those practices and mini camps. So, and I'm one of those. I like Marcus Harris when he came out of his last showing in college with that group at Cal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some ifs and buts there, but I believe if you could just say, hey, health is going to be a thing, you're going to have that. This is going to be better in 2026, and I think it starts with stopping the run.
I think it does too. I think that is the thing I am most confident in this defense being pretty okay at. And I think it's interesting. I mean, it did feel like, Rhett, they gave up some chunk plays last season in the run game. But statistically, I know stats aren't everything, they were 15th defensively against the run last year and 17th in yards per attempt. They were solid. Can they be top 10 in yards per attempt allowed? I think it's reasonable to say that's a ceiling for them.
That did that before, that were ranked higher and finished higher.
Cedric Gray's
trying to find that again.
Cedric Gray's strength is obviously run stopping as a thumper inside linebacker. I think this is where Keldrick Faulk steps in and gives this team a lot of value that you're not going to see on the stat sheet. I think we've got to be patient to see the sack numbers come in droves for Keldrick Falk. He's a young prospect. At Auburn, he was similarly at times used as someone to absorb blocks and keep someone at arm's length and be a really good run stopper for that defense. But you're just not going to see a lot of his value show up on the stat sheet, Keldrick Falk. He may be able to hold up a blocker or take on blocks from a fullback or a tight end enough to allow somebody else to scrape over the top of the defense and make a tackle because he's held up a blocker from getting to the second level.
Doing the dirty work. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I think for him and his skill set as an edge rusher, but as a bigger edge rusher that's built more as a 4-3 defensive end, you're going to see a lot of that from him right away. And I think what Femi Oladejo gave you before he got hurt last season, too, looked like that as well. And a player with a little bit of a different skill set to Falk, but was still achieving that. He was starting to flash in the run game a little bit. Mm-hmm. And being able to set some edges. Would I like for him to have more sack production besides just setting edges? Absolutely. But I think that's a positive you could take for Femi Oladejo at this point in his career. I think those guys stay healthy on the front four. I think you're looking at a good run defense. The question for me, Rhett, is from all of that put together, the additional pressure you hope to get on the quarterback, the new corners you have in the secondary, can you force more turnovers? Can you get Cam Ward more short fields? This defense only had 6 interceptions a season ago. I believe that's the right number in what they were able to do. That was 29th in the NFL in terms of the overall interceptions that they were able to force. I'd like to see that number a little bit higher because you hope that more pressure on the quarterback, more hands on arms, more hands on footballs, that ball's going to fall into your lap, whether it's a fumble or an interception.
Well, and conversely, let's take this seriously into consideration because it's a huge part of what happened last year. We need this offense to be able to get down to the field and make something happen. And Joey Sly, you're a very good kicker, but we need 6 and your PAT we need that. But more importantly, so that the defense is fresh and ready to roll and they're not having to play 40 minutes of a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
right.
God, they were just grinding last year because of the offense's inability to score points and have long, sustainable drives. Like, that's the other part of this.
Definitely.
That the offense has got to do their part. But to your point, this defense needs to get that ball back and give it back to Cam and the guys and say, okay, go make something happen.
Yeah, they do. And I was right. It's 6 total interceptions last season. Half of the Titans' interceptions as a defense last year were from Cody Barton. 2 more from Xavier Woods. The 1 interception by a Titans corner last season was Roger McCreary, who played on the team for 8 games. No other corner who finished the season on the roster had an interception for the Titans last year. And to be fair, a lot of the corners got hurt and weren't available. And you finished the season with Jalen Armour-Davis and Darrell Baker being those 2 outside guys for a lot of it. And L'Jarius Sneed played 7 games. And Marcus Harris kind of finished the season with 5 starts, but wasn't a full-time starter really until December. And then he gets hurt as well at the end of the year. But you hope that all the pressure, all the newness of the secondary leads you to creating more short fields for Cam Ward. I think that is the realistic expectation and hope, is that you're able to be a bit more disruptive at creating turnovers.
And then looking at, the offense and the defense of this is the other thing that's got to change, to your point about creating turnovers and getting it back to them. Your turnover differential, like you can, there's a handful of earmarks you can look at to see the teams that are making the playoffs and making runs into the playoffs, and turnover differential is one of those. Mm-hmm. Like, very rarely do you see one that's out of skew, and then you look at something else and say they don't have a great giveaway takeaway ratio, but maybe they're scoring ridiculous points per game average. But you're not going to find many anomalies in that. If you're doing better in those things, that means you're doing some things right.
Titans had 9.9% of their drives end in turnovers on offense last season. That was 18th in the NFL. They only forced turnovers 6.5% of the time last year. That was 29th in the NFL. They were last season -5 in turnover margin. Needs to be better moving forward into Robert Sala's first season. Coming up, Brent Hubbs of VolQuest will join us. Where does the Tennessee quarterback battle stand as we head into a little mini dead period for Tennessee football and practices in Knoxville? And what is the latest as we enter the final month of David Gabriel George's recruitment before he commits as one of the most high-profile recruitments in quite some time for an in-state running back? We'll talk about that with Brent Hubbs of VolQuest coming up next. Ramon Will rolls on here in hour number 2 on this Friday morning. Glad you are with us. Rhett Bryan filling in for Ramon Foster. Myself, Will Bowling. Pleased to be joined as we are each and every Friday at 7:20 by our very good friend Brent Hubbs of VolQuest and On 3, getting the latest on Rocky Top. Good morning, Brent. Happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday to you, Mr. Payton. I hope life is well. Congratulations on you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, Brent, I've never been more thankful that when my parents were naming me, they didn't go with their second choice, which was Peyton, for certain obvious reasons, because I was born in 1997. So I'm actually thankful that we're both not Peyton Bowling at this point. So we're very happy about that, Brent. Very happy about that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Congratulations to both of you. I wish you nothing but the best, my friend.
Thank you. My dad is listening somewhere being like, you almost were Mr. Peyton Bowling. But anyway, it worked out all right. That didn't happen. Brent, as we wrap up the month of June, obviously far from knowing a starter for Tennessee at the quarterback position, but as we get to this point, what are you hearing about this battle and the way things are shaping up right now? How have those guys looked as they have been back working with their teammates for this last month again?
Well, I mean, I think they both have done well. I think that, physically, Faison's obviously bigger. I think both those guys have done a lot of good things. I don't think it's over. I know a lot of people are sort of speculating somebody's out in front or it's leaning a certain way. I don't think it's that. I think you got to go win it. Josh Heupel's made it very clear. You got to go win it in front of your teammates. That's the next month. That's fall camp. That's 2 scrimmages. So I would tell you it's probably about where it's been because I don't think Josh Heupel's passing judgment right now. And so in his mind, I think it's sort of unchanged. It's just a battle. And we'll see who goes out and competes and performs the best and gets themselves ready to perform the best. That's really what the next month is for those guys, is getting themselves ready to perform the way they need to perform when you get into fall camp and scrimmage settings.
Brent, I know you guys wrote about this a bit in the War Room this morning at VolQuest.com, which any Tennessee fan always needs to be locked in on each and every Friday morning. But who are you guys hearing the most about, and who's getting the biggest and most positive reviews at this point of the offseason?
Well, I mean, I think you have to be careful just from the standpoint of not many people have had bad summers. Now, there's been a few, okay, so let's be honest here. We've known of a few that didn't do what they were supposed to do. But, the reviews on this team and their work ethic has been good. I think Nathan Robinson, because he's been healthy for the first time in his career in the offseason, has done really well, has had a good offseason. I think the freshman linebacker, Braden Rouse, has really enjoyed the weight room. I think it's been good to him. Now he's got a lot of competition at that position. T. Lander's a guy that is a forgotten man, but has had has seemed to gel really well with Derek Owens. I think he's better physically than he's been. So there's some competition there. I think T.J. Metcalf has done really well. Probably a little bit of a forgotten man because he's just assumed to be a starter because of his experience. But I think he's adjusted well to the new system, and I think he's showing some leadership skills, as is Nathan Robinson. So, I think overall this coaching staff is pleased with where they are. They just know that there's work to be done over the next month.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest joins us here on Ramon and Will this morning. Brent, what about the corner competition at University of Tennessee with this football team? What's that competition been like so far, and how much better can they get at cornerback?
Well, I think they're going to be better because Ty Redmond's going to be a year better. He was thrown into the fire last year as a freshman, so he's only going to be better. Caden Lee is a guy who had an okay spring, had a really good spring game. I think he's a guy that the more people you put on the field and the more people you put in the stands, he's probably a better player than he is just a regular practice player. So that's got to develop a little bit. But I think athletically, skill-wise, they went and got him out of the portal for a reason, and that was to come in and play quickly. And I think he will. I think the third corner at this point is Trey Poteet. And then, where's Tim Merritt? Where are some of these young guys that have come in here? But I think, this time last year's corner was going to be the strength of the football team, and it became a struggle for them because Ricky Gibson got hurt and Jeremiah McCoy never made it to the field. If they stay healthy, I think I like where they're at corner. I think Redmond is going to be a really good player, is a good player. I think he got better and better as the year went on. I think Caden Lee is a guy who's probably a little more athletic than Redmond. Redmond's longer. I'll be interested to see if Tennessee plays a boundary corner and a field corner, or if they just play it straight up, how they choose to kind of play that. Those are a lot of the things that we just don't know exactly how Jim Knowles is going to orchestrate and put this defense together. So, but there's good competition there. I think they really like where they've gotten to at safety. I think they feel like they're much better there. They love Quay Moss as the nickel. The question is going to be who's the backup nickel. And I think that's probably the overriding question of this secondary between now and the end of fall camp.
All right, how about this one? The 5-for-5 eligibility rule. How can that impact, or how potentially would that impact the football program?
Well, I think it's from a roster management standpoint, you've got to have a plan, because suddenly now you have some guys who you thought were going to be out of eligibility who might have another year. Now, how many of those guys want to come back? Like Arion Carter has not redshirted. He could theoretically come back, but I don't think anybody sees that as a realistic possibility, with where he's at in his career. But a guy like Jeremiah Thielander, a guy like Quay Moss, suddenly it can change the outlook of your team. If you're a general manager, you have to put that into your formula for roster management, roster retention. Suddenly it's, what do I need in a portal? Okay, well, I may need a nickel. Well, what if I can bring my nickel back? How much could I pay him to bring him back? If he doesn't have an elite year to go to the NFL draft, could I bring him back and have an experienced guy come back at that position? Those are all the things that surface now with the 5-for-5 that's coming up. It's going to, in time, clean a lot of things up and make things easier. But in the transition, you're suddenly finding yourself planning differently than you were 6 months ago when you looked at your roster management.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest and On3, our guest this morning here on Ramon and Will. Brent, I love the column this week talking about how the NCAA actually kind of proposed some changes that kind of make sense. So what a concept. What do you like about the NCAA's proposed calendar for college sports, and how much things could look different for football coaches in the near future?
Well, I love the fact that they have a plan. They put something together, first of all. I mean, geez, instead of talking about something, we've come to the table with something. So kudos to the oversight committee for not just oversighting for another year, right? I mean, we're trying to put something together. I think it's interesting because it gives coaches flexibility and some strategy. When do you want to do spring? How do you want to break spring up? You got to have some conversations with your strength coach, because you don't want to do a whole summer of practice, because that can hurt your physical development. But you also maybe don't want to go 3 months without football. For the interior, for your line coaches on both lines of scrimmage, they've had this rule in place where you could go through walkthroughs, and walkthroughs turn through routes versus air practices for the offense and the skill guys. It's organized throwing sessions is what the installs have become. Well, for the defensive lineman and the offensive lineman, there's not a lot of value there other than some mental learning of the system, because there's no sled, there's no practice dummy, there's nothing you can do to develop your skill set. Now you're going to have a summertime where Rodney Garner can work with guys on a sled, and so can Glenn Ellerby, and so can every line coach around the country. I think the guys who love it the most are going to be your offensive and defensive line coaches, because they're going to feel like in June they're going to have true OTAs where they can really instruct and teach some guys. The question is going to be for head coaches, how do you manage the 27 days that it turns out to be that you can use? How many of them are in pads? When are they going to be in pads? How many do you do in the summer? How many do you do in the spring? But it's a strategy. And I think, listen, when those guys are making $12 million a year, let them have some strategy on what's best to manage their team. So I like it. I really do. I like the fact that they've done that. I think college football should be playing on week 0 every year. There should be 2 open dates if we're going to keep the current schedule calendar. But The reason being is it gives you another week ahead of the NFL's regular season. No offense, Rhett, to the preseason games.
Oh, yeah. Plenty taken over here. God, I love preseason football.
but suddenly now you're playing. What if you play Texas and Ohio State and there's no NFL competition against it? Now you can play Saturday, Sunday, Monday games in week 0, and you can schedule out some really good stuff. And you get 2 open dates, which I think is important when you're talking about potentially playing 20 weeks out of the year and you're 18, 19 years old, still developing as an athlete, still learning how to manage your body. So I just like the fact that there's some strategy involved now and some things make sense. It's kind of a shock to my system that they've done that, but hopefully, there's real positives from it because I think there is a chance that it could be.
Brent, going back to the 5-for-5 eligibility stuff too, are we finally done with the days of guys like Cade Mays and Aubrey Solomon like getting on a plane to travel with the team, not knowing if they're eligible for the game that's literally going to be played that they are traveling to? Like, what a concept, right? Like, we might finally have appeals processes that are done before like guys are putting on their sweatsuits and the new Adidas shoes everybody's about to get and getting on the plane to go play a football game.
Yeah, I mean, let's get out of the world where one guy at one school loses his appeal because maybe his compliance people didn't write it as well as they should have, and somebody else got their 8th year on some random medical deal. Let's get away from the fact that you're going into meetings on Friday morning and you don't know at the walkthrough, do I put him in the walkthrough line? Do I put him out there with the guys to go over the game plan, or do we not do that? Or the NCAA saying, hey, we just didn't get to it. We'll get to it by week 2 or week 3. I do think streamlining that is better for everybody. And there's no point in redshirting anybody anymore.
Right.
With the transfer portal, redshirts are a waste. So that takes that. Do I play him 4 games? Which 4 do I play him in? What do I do? Just play him. I mean, and so I think from those things, making it simpler, which has not been the forte of the NCAA through the years, making it simpler is beneficial to everyone, from administrators, schools, the NCAA, all their committees and reviews and all those things, compliance, and obviously most importantly, the student athlete. Listen, you know what you got. You got 5 to play 5. And we're not trying to manipulate it into anything else other than you got 5 to play 5. I think that's a win. I think that's a positive.
Well, Brent, as Tennessee is in the middle of this incredibly competitive recruitment for David Gabriel Georges, and it continues to be Tennessee versus Ohio State for this, what kind of response do you think Ohio State has had in this recruitment to try to get the momentum back after DGG's visit to Knoxville, as we are now within a month until one of the most talented running backs in the history of high school football in Tennessee gets ready to make his commitment?
That's a great question. I don't think any of us really know. I think the part with DGG that I find pretty fascinating is he just doesn't really like any of this. He just wants to pick someplace and go play. I mean, he's going to do a press conference in July that's already set up, so that date is not going to change. I think he is of the mindset, listen, when I make a final decision, I just want to put out a graphic and go on about business. But that's not how this works, and that's not how it's going to work, which is okay. I just don't know what affects him. You know what I mean? And I'm not picking on Ohio State in any way, shape, or form, but they offered his teammate, which I get that move. That's not the first time that's ever happened. see Nash Nance and Dayrick Robinson.
I was literally about to say Nash Nance into the chat.
I mean, somebody pick up the phone and call Bo Hardigree. I've got examples of those. Through the years. So that's not some novel, radical concept. What kind of impact does that have? He has friends and teammates on this roster at Tennessee that he talks to and sees frequently. How big of an impact is that? You've got Carlos Lachlan, the running backs coach, tweeting out all this stuff in French. I mean, is he going to go out and learn French and that's how he's going to coach you? I mean, my guess is the play call will come in English, when they make that. I mean, I just don't, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be funny.
No, but you are funny.
I just don't know how important some of those things are. I understand why they're doing it. Yeah, I mean, je m'appelle. I know exactly why. I know exactly why they're doing it. I mean, I get it. You know, you're trying to do everything you can. The same reason Tennessee brought Alvin Kamara up here when he visited.
Right.
Like, you're trying to not miss a step somewhere along the way. I just don't know how much impact any of that really has. We're going to find out, and it's going to be really, really quiet until we find out in July, I think.
Brent Hubbs, VolQuest.com, joining us here this morning on Ramon and Will. Let's stay with recruiting for just a second. And I figure I know the answer to this because I don't see you writing about it on VolQuest, but 5-star tackle from Mississippi, Caden Moss, is supposed to announce his destination, I think, tonight. Tennessee is in that half dozen names that I saw mentioned. What's the path here for Caden Moss potentially?
You know, that one's gotten interesting. I don't think it's Tennessee, but, you know, a lot of people have just assumed that that's Ole Miss or LSU. And I'm not sure that that's just complete lockdown. I mean, it's kind of been in my mind Ole Miss because they've just put all their eggs in that basket. And this is the new age that we're in, Rhett, in terms of, all right, this guy's going to command a lot of money. You know, he's really talented. That's what the market allows. Tennessee's got a sophomore in David Sanders. They have a sophomore in Ori Williams. They've got a redshirt sophomore and Jesse Perry. You know, all those guys are tackles. So, you know, next year, if David Sanders is back, if you're going to retain him, which why would you not, he's going to be a starter. And if you like Ori Williams or Jesse Perry, you're going to pay them to be your starter at the other tackle spot. So do you invest as much as it's going to cost in Caden Moss to get him here, and then he sets for an entire year? So you're going to pay him 7 figures to set. Or are you better off waiting till the next year and going and getting the best high school freshman you can get, like you did with David Sanders, and plug and play them in as a freshman? This is the new age of recruiting. If you're going to pay a lot of money for a high school kid, okay, DGG falls into this category, I'm sure. They don't hold clipboards, right? I mean, they're just not. You know, Jeremiah Love is not going to go to the NFL and they're going to go, hey, man, we're going to ease you in. And maybe middle of year 2, late year. I know you're the highest paid back in the league, but we're going to take it really easy. I mean, other than a couple of quarterbacks 2 years, if you're an NFL franchise and you've got a first-round pick, that guy's going to the field. And if you're going to pay what I would consider first-round money out of high school, which is big, not equivalent to NFL money, but big money that I would equate to being first-round type money at the college level, that guy can't hold a clipboard outside of the quarterback position. You got to put him in there and play. So when you're managing your money and your budget, you have to figure out where some of your priorities are. And Tennessee loves Caden Moss, and Caden Moss likes Tennessee. It's just financially, it probably doesn't make the most sense for that marriage to happen unless Caden Moss would be willing to take less money, but he's not going to want to set, you know, for less money. I mean, those guys want to play, and everybody understands that.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest with us here this morning on Ramon and Will. Brent_Hubbs, where you get him on Twitter. The War Room at VolQuest.com. A must-read each and every Friday for Vols fans, and a VolQuest subscription a must-have as well for Vols fans. Brent, appreciate you as always, sir. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Bonjour, guys. Have a great day.
You as well.
Oui, sir.
Thank you. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest with us here this morning, presented by Ascend Federal Credit Union, your financial partner for every stage of life. The absolute best.
He is absolutely the best. And, you know, man, if they could land David Gabriel George's, Tennessee's had some really good running backs through the years. Really good. Man, I mean, there's a laundry list of them.
Yeah.
God, it'd be exciting to see that guy in orange and white to see what he could do.
So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you brought it up that way, too, because I try to always, when we talk about David Gabriel George's, try to give the context to both the Tennessee fan and also the non-Tennessee fan on why he is such an important player to continue covering the recruitment on. Because, listen, I understand some of the cynicism that college football fans have now for high school recruiting. I think the VolQuest crew does as good a job in the country at covering it. Part of the reason why we continue to cover it with them, because they are as in the know and in the weeds on that as anybody out there literally in America covering recruiting. But also, there are certain recruitments that are a little bit different, and players that are a little bit different. And David Gabriel George's ret is the closest thing I have seen to Derrick Henry at the high school level at the running back position since Derrick Henry. I mean that in terms of overall potential. I mean that in terms of overall talent. But just
looks like a man playing against boys.
If you put the black and white television on and just watch the game without seeing the uniforms, without knowing who was who, and I showed you Derrick Henry highlights next to David Gabriel George's highlights, you would be amazed at how similar running style, size, stature. I'm not saying he's going to beat Derrick Henry. I'm saying he's the closest thing to Derrick Henry I've seen. I would love that. Seeing that guy play in person in Chattanooga in the D2 AAA state championship game last year, this is as good of a running back that Tennessee has produced as a state in a long, long time. This guy is next level. And as Brent has said, as Austin Price has said on Tuesdays with us, this is a big boy recruitment. And whether you're a Tennessee fan or not, he's either going to be playing in orange and be a name you hear a ton for Tennessee the second he gets on campus, or he's going to get to Ohio State and be a name you hear a lot from Gus Johnson, who I'm sure would have a fun, snappy slogan for him every time he scores a touchdown on Big Noon kickoff. Because he's going to be a household name, whether he plays in Scarlet and Silver or in Tennessee Orange and Pantone 151C. The guy is every part as legit as he could be. So that's always the disclaimer I give. I'm like, hey, I always get the questions like, why are you guys spending so much time on this random running back at a Chattanooga?
Yeah, well,
because I promise you he's not random.
Go take a look.
He is. He rushed for 471 yards and 7 touchdowns against McCallie in the state semifinals last year. And if you know anything about McCallie, you know that since they started to get the kind of players they did post-COVID out of Canada, they don't give up yards like that to anybody. Nope. They don't give up total yards like that.
470 and 7 scores.
It's one of the best individual performances I've ever seen watching those highlights back from a player in the state of Tennessee. I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
For everybody out there going, would y'all please stop talking about David Gabriel George's? We won't have to, because everybody else will be talking. Wherever he goes, whatever he does, barring the unforeseen.
That's right.
He is going to be very special to watch.
Respectfully, my answer to that, to quote the great Nick Saban, I'm not going to, so quit asking. Coming up, ESPN writers give the biggest surprise player on every NFL team so far through the offseason program. ESPN's Teron Davenport made a great pick for the surprise player so far for the Titans through offseason workouts. We'll tell you about that coming up next. Ramon Will on 104.5 The Zone. Wrapping up hour number 2. I'm putting together my big board right now for our draft later. We're doing best broadcast calls today in hour 4. I'm having so much fun putting this list together, and I feel like we are going to have a lot of options coming up here at 9:20 this morning.
Yep.
Perfect draft for you to join us for, Rhett Bryan.
I'm just hoping that the randomizer has me picking first.
Yeah.
I know what my first pick is.
Yeah,
I know what
I do
probably my
too.
second, third, and fourth are.
I do as well. ESPN writers, Rhett, are writing about the biggest surprise player on each NFL team so far in the off-season program. And as always, ESPN's Teron Davenport made a great pick for the Titans. He's got corner Micah Robinson as his surprise player so far, writing at ESPN.com. Robinson took advantage of free agent additions Cordell Flott and Alante Taylor being out for most of OTAs. He had early struggles guarding number 4 overall pick Cardell Tate, but he acquitted himself with sticky coverage that led to multiple pass breakups. The second-year corner had 2 interceptions, one of which was thrown by Cam Ward. The other one was a goal line fade to Xavier Restrepo that ended minicamp. You're nodding your head already. Fair pick by TD on the surprise player.
Excellent work, TD. Yes, Micah Robinson. He is the forgotten man in all of the youngsters that played so much last year because he was not drafted by this team. And I would agree. He looked different when things started. He adjusted through those OTAs, and then when he got to minicamp and beyond, I like what I saw. And there were plenty of PBUs. And you're right, he did break up and intercept the last play of minicamp a few days ago. No, I would totally agree with Micah Robinson, with Teron Davenport about Micah Robinson.
I like it. I like it a lot, and I like what it means for the secondary, too, because Micah Robinson was a special teamer first last season and a corner second. In the same way that Dorian Mausi, the first-year player out of Auburn, was a special teamer first and a linebacker second. I think both those guys are starting to play themselves into more of defensive roles. And I think fans are going to hear those two names a lot more through training camp. And coaching staff continues to bring up Dorian Mausi when they talk about Anthony Hill Jr. and talk about Mahmoud Diabate or the other guys in that linebacker room, in the same way that Micah Robinson has kind of played himself into being that next guy at the cornerback position. If I were to ask you, who do you predict will surprise people and maybe be another name that we could be talking about within this same light during training camp, where does your mind go on that?
Well, I mean, we mentioned him yesterday in converted tight end Jaron Kanik from Oklahoma.
The mechanic.
The mechanic was starting to make some things happen. And again, no pads. I get it. Mm-hmm. Proper context. But he's going to be a fun watch, not only in training camp, but into the preseason in this and kind of what he can do. And we're reminded about that when we had Justin Mello on yesterday. Is like in his first year converted from linebacker to tight end at Oklahoma, he had 500 yards and catches. I mean, So there's something there. But I would say the last draft pick of the 2026 class in Jaron Kanik, the tight end from Oklahoma.
That is exactly where I was going to go as well. Jaron Kanik. I think he's going to have a potential impact to the pass game in terms of what he's able to do. And even if he is just opening up other stuff underneath for running backs in a set where, he's lined up perhaps as a fullback, and then you've got Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears back there as well. I think there's opportunity there for him, but 100%. I think the mechanic is going to have the potential to fix some stuff. Keydrane Callaghan, another name we saw make some plays at corner late on and had that one practice where he had 2 of the exact same play where he was face guarding Alec Iamaner, stuck his hand out at the perfect moment and made a PBU with like he had eyes in the back of his head. So I like it, especially on defense, and depth at secondary is a big point of conversation. I'd love it if those two guys could continue.
Unfortunately, you go through a bunch, Now, I'm interested to see, going back to a 4-3 base, what you go through.
Right. Totally agree. And Diabate is another one we've not talked a ton about.
Yeah.
Curious what his role looks like.
Yeah, big, long dude.
Within the defense. Absolutely. We will talk more about that defense coming up here in hour number 3 as we hit halftime of your Friday morning. Give you some more USA soccer reaction if you were asleep for the late kickoff coming up next as well. Hour number 3 of the program and second half of the show on Ramon and Will. Glad you're with us as we hit the final 2 hours of the week. Rhett Bryant is filling in for Ramon Foster this morning. You got me, Will Bowling. You've got our producer, Justin Hawkins. And you could have your voice on with us at 615-737-1045. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to take a look at the Titans defense and go group by group, position-wise, taking a look at who is where, who is sharpied in, penciled in, or maybe not in at this point as we put together the 53-man roster way too early in advance. And look at how it compares to some of the initial 53-man roster numbers from last season. Rhett, I thought it was a good exercise yesterday to remind ourselves, remind the people where players are, who is not back, and what this roster looked like this time last year, because this illustration also shows us just how different this team's going to look this upcoming season.
Yeah, and we're going to find out in the part 2 of this just exactly how much has changed on defense, and it's going to be even more so than what we dealt with offense yesterday, because that was the place that had the most holes to fill.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, it's an important exercise, and I will say this, much like we did yesterday, Cam Ward is still number 1. He's the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans on offense, so let's get that one out of the way. Well, number 98 is Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, he's going to start a defensive tackle.
He's going to be an all-world badass, so just like he has been.
I love it. I love it. Last night, the United States, heartbreaker against Turkey, losing 3-2, closing out the group stage campaign of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The U.S. still finishes top of Group D, and that had been determined after 2 matches. The United States changed 9 members of the starting 11 into Game 3 from Game 2, which was a 2-0 win over Australia in Seattle. The only 2 players who started this match, who started the last one, were Ricardo Pepi, who was an injury replacement for Christian Pulisic. So even he isn't one of the first-choice starting players for this team, but he was in the second game. And Weston McKennie, who played about 85 minutes in this match, midfielder who played next to Sebastian Berhalter, who scored a beautiful goal to tie this thing in the second half after the U.S. was down 2-1 through 45 minutes. I thought a lot of the mistakes that the United States made were made by players who probably aren't going to see the field very much through the rest of this tournament, barring injury. Mark McKenzie and Miles Robinson never looked comfortable at the back. I thought Matt Turner could have done better to prevent a couple of the goals against him, and I think especially on the third one, could have come out to claim a cross that was right in the middle of the 6-yard box that I thought he could have done better at. I didn't love the choice that Mauricio Pochettino made, the U.S. manager, putting Matt Turner in goal, because Matt Freese has just taken over the starting spot as the U.S. men's national team goalkeeper, and I think every minute is critical for him experience-wise to just see some shots as well, because he's only seen a couple shots through the first 2 matches of the tournament against Paraguay and Australia. So I would rather seen Freese in the game anyway, but I get why Pochettino did it with Matt Turner. I think the headline of this game, though, is the U.S. kind of got its swagger back a little bit in the second half once you saw Christian Pulisic come back into the game. And the drop-off from the starting line of the depth chart in defense, from Chris Richards, the United States' in my opinion, most valuable player, full stop, on this team because of the drop-off from him to the next option. Chris Richards and Tim Ream on the left side of that back line versus Mark McKenzie and Miles Robinson. There is a big difference between those 2 starters and those 2 backups, with all due respect to Mark McKenzie and Miles Robinson, for me personally. And I think it says as much about how good Chris Richards has been as a player from Crystal Palace, who is a trophy-winning player. They won the Conference League this past year in England and in UEFA. So I think there's a lot to like about this team. I think if you are jumping into this and you are not a diehard U.S. soccer fan, there is nothing to be overly concerned about with how last night went.
Yeah, so let's just say this. Here's what I'm hearing from you.
Yep.
This went about how you thought it was going to go because Turkey had nothing to lose. They'd already been, their fate had been decided with an 0-2 start in this thing. Now, the other part of it is, the thing that doesn't sting but just kind of sucks is the way they climbed back into it and then lost it in the last moments of the match. Mm-hmm. But the good thing is, you've mentioned they are at the top of Group D. They are in the breakout group moving forward. They, barring injuries, which if they're healthy, you got a lot to be excited about, and they're moving on anyway. So dust off your cleats and let's keep going.
That's exactly right. The United States will take on Bosnia Wednesday in Santa Clara. That'll be a 7:00 game. If they win that, which I expect them to, I'm not going to guarantee
it. Levi Stadium?
Is that yes, right? It is.
Okay.
Yep. Levi Stadium. Then they would be in Seattle July 6th with a spot in the quarterfinal up for grabs. And Seattle is the fortress for U.S. soccer in this country. It is the biggest, in my opinion, home field advantage that the U.S. men's national team could possibly have in a match like that. The Group G winner is expected to be Egypt. They are expected to play South Korea in the other match, which is going to be in Seattle on July 1st. So the U.S. will likely play the winner. If you look at the odds, 60% chance it's Egypt on one line of that bracket, 68% chance that South Korea is the other team. So you are looking at, on one quad in the bottom of the bracket, U.S. Bosnia, the winner of that, likely getting the winner of Egypt and South Korea, which pretty actually evenly matched game. That would be, either way, a game the United States would also be favored to win.
And the other silver lining that I did not mention, the 4 players that had 1 yellow card and did not participate last night.
Yes.
Now there's a reset at that, and you're back at 0 with that going into the breakout group.
I think the biggest reason the U.S. lost last night actually has more to do with the players that Mauricio Pochettino picked to be on the World Cup roster, more so than the players that he picked to play last night, because the United States put together 2 central midfield players as well that are not defensive-minded players. So in center mids, Rhett, you have 6s and 8s. 6s are more defensive-minded, shield the back line. When there's a loose ball, clean up the mess, get it out of there. 8s are more forward-thinking, carry the ball forward into the attacking end, more likely to score, more likely to assist, more likely to make a run in behind. Typically, you have, in the shape that the United States plays, a 6 and an 8 that play next to each other. One guy that can get forward, one guy that can sit back. It's why Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie are perfect matches. Adams is a defensive-minded player. McKennie is an attack-minded player. Because of an injury to Christian Roldan, who plays for the Seattle Sounders, who was unavailable last night, he's the only backup 6 the U.S. has on the entire roster. So they did not pick a player, Tanner Tessman, who at one point was actually committed to play football at Clemson as a kicker for Dabo Sweeney, and now plays for Lyon in France. For me, the U.S. should have brought him on this roster to have another option in midfield. They chose not to do that. The U.S. had their weakness and had their just thin numbers at the midfield position kind of exposed last night, because behind Tyler Adams and Christian Roldan, there are 0 other 6s in this team. It underscores the value that Tyler Adams brings into this team, but it also shows you just how big the drop-off is, again, at the back, although this is more of a midfield position from the starting level players for the U.S. and the backup players for the U.S.
Interesting.
The way I would, too, kind of describe this, coming into this tournament, I know you've heard probably Lucas and I talk so much over the last couple months about this, just walking around the building. The vibes were not great around the U.S. men's national team entering the World Cup because of the way over the last 2 summers, a lot of backup players have fared in big moments and big tournaments. A lot of names that are not starting at the World Cup, second choice players at a number of positions, have been a big reason why the U.S. hasn't really felt great going into this tournament. Then you see the starters come in, the guys who play in Europe, the guys who haven't been as active playing over the last 2 summers. And notice how quickly things changed against Paraguay and against Australia. It's a totally different team. The U.S. as a soccer country has come a long way, and this is already the most successful group stage in the history of U.S. men's soccer at the World Cup in 96 years of this tournament. That being said, our depth has still not caught up to where a lot of other countries are. And the first line on our depth chart, a lot of players playing in Europe, a lot of experience at MLS, a lot of guys that are playing on stages that American soccer players have never played on. Christian Pulisic is the only U.S. player to ever play in a Champions League final in Europe. Then the drop-off is still pretty significant, though. And that's the next step for us as a soccer country, is to be able to get to the point where our second players, our second choice players, you would say, in a starting 11, can come in and play the same style and do the same job as the starters can. We're not at that point yet.
Well, and here's the thing that I hear in my head as you're explaining all this to me is it's universal in sports. Bench depth is so important. And then the other part of it is if you stay healthy, let's see how far this goes. If you have some significant injuries to some starting level players, you may be looking at disappointment.
Yeah, totally. So it's going to be interesting. I do think the vibes kind of leaving that stadium, probably for fans, probably for the players and for the coach, Mauricio Pochettino, who you just heard a minute ago on the Westwood One update, kind of clap back a little bit at some media members last night who were a little negative in some of their questions. Now the question is, how much of a sour taste does that leave in the team's mouth as they prepare for Bosnia? We'll see. It may motivate them enough to where that sour taste could end up being a good thing, and they learn some lessons from this game. But I am really interested to see what the response looks like for them as they play a team that defends very well, is going to be well drilled, and is going to be really tough to break down next Wednesday in Santa Clara.
I think for me, when you're looking at the game last night, you find the good in what was the second half, right? As soon as those starters come in, you get them one by one. Pulisic comes in, and then Dest comes in a little bit later. Is you see kind of that trajectory of, okay, if this was a full 90 here, you're probably going to win that game, especially how the U.S. started, in the fourth minute there with Trusty's goal. You take that, and that's your momentum moving to the next game. Yes, it's a little bit down, but then you go back to, okay, you played 9 different starters last night because that's not what you're going with.
It's not normal.
That's not your 11-man roster there. Mm-hmm. That's not your starting 11. The other thing that I if you go back to the negative side of it, I kept finding they're losing their marks. And I know
they are.
I know that's the backups. I know that's not their starting 11. But at the same time, it's still the mindset of find your marks, and that's how you can better your defense, and that's how you kind of close that gap into your backups versus your starters. That's where all those channels came in on the back end. Those were all those channels were separate on the front end. And then just be strong on the ball. Hold the ball. You don't always have to have the possession, but be strong on your guy.
And Turkey has the quality to punish you for your mistakes and for literally the gaps that you leave in the back line. There were too many moments where Mark McKenzie would release and leave a ton of open space between him and Miles Robinson at the back to where there was just so much room for Arda Güler, who, again, young player, plays for Real Madrid in Spain, was able to find a pocket, pick out a pass, pick out a shot, and cause the U.S. some problems. We've not seen those same gaps in the back line when it's Tim Ream playing next to Chris Richards. I thought as well, Justin, that last night, the bit of a different shape the U.S. had just didn't really take. The U.S. has mainly been in a back three and is built out, and it just felt like the midfielders were having to think a little bit on where to go with the ball versus instinctively knowing where to go with the ball.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, you allowed Turkey to get very comfortable because it was about midway through the first half, and they're starting to just be very loose on the ball, very casual. Oh, you spread your legs open? Let me give you a little nutmeg. They just got too comfortable. The U.S. were kind of put on the heels a little bit, and they just couldn't find the rhythm that they had in the first few minutes.
Some breaking Tennessee news that has just come down from On 3. Big Vols news. We've got it for you next.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
This is a different court, Blair.
Same result, Slay.
Oh, okay, Blair. See, that's Tyler Tanner. See, Tyler Tanner's in the house now.
Let's see what you got. Jury's out, Blair.
Blair, come on. Okay, Blair, just come sit down. Come on, Blair, stop. You're going to get hurt. Blair, get off the court. That's enough.
What's the verdict, Blair? The courtroom is where I play ball.
Boy, Durham, injury law. And that ain't got no roof.
The guaranteed offer is the simplest, least stressful way to sell your home. You go to our website, you fill out a quick form, we set an appointment, we bring you an all-cash offer. Literally, there's no lockbox on the front of your house, there's no showings, we pay all cash, we close in as little as 21 days, stress-free. We've helped thousands of homeowners just like you sell your home the hassle-free way with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate.
Got some breaking Vols news for you here in hour 3 of Ramon and Will. Rhett Bryan filling in for the VFL, Ramon Foster, myself, Will Bowling, and Justin Hawkins. Tennessee edge rusher Chaz Coleman is no longer a Tennessee edge rusher. As sources tell Chris Lowe and Pete Nakos for On 3 that the Vols have parted ways with Penn State transfer edge rusher Chaz Coleman. Report at on3.com says the pass rusher has been absent from summer workouts last week before resurfacing in Knoxville on Friday. He has been medically disqualified from the Volunteers roster. So On 3, with the report, it is officially official. Chaz Coleman is no longer a Tennessee Volunteer. We had Brent Hubbs on an hour ago, Rhett. And people who've been listening to us who have heard Brent, who have heard Austin Price, who have been following along on the discussion know that we've not even asked those guys about Chaz Coleman for a couple weeks because this was always going to be the end destination for Chaz Coleman. Unfortunate situation, talented player, Tennessee's top-rated transfer in the portal at a position of need, an edge rusher that is still a really big position of need, and some guys are going to have to step up there, but this was always going to be the end game. The end game for about the last month when he wasn't originally at workouts.
That's why you quit asking him about it, right? Like, hey, this is how this is going to play out.
It has been really since about Memorial Day that we've known this was always going to happen with Chaz Coleman. So Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel at SEC spring meeting said Chaz has been dealing with some things and we're here to support him. We'll continue to go through that process. Only played 144 snaps as a true freshman in 2025. He did have 12 pressures, 3 TFLs, and a strip sack in that time, and followed defensive coordinator Jim Knowles from Penn State to Tennessee this offseason. My understanding is he will not be able to play for another program this year. Transfer portal's closed. He can't just pop up on Ohio State or Penn State and play this fall. So for Tennessee fans who've been asking that on social media of, oh, well, look, now he's going to go to Ohio State. No, that I don't think that is the case. From my understanding, that's not the case.
He's not exactly Brendan Sorsby, but he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. Here's my thing on this, and we've covered it a lot, but to wrap a bow on it now that it is now officially done, what I don't want to do is the whole, well, what's the deal with Josh Heupel? What's the deal with Tennessee? Why is this a yearly thing where there's some player that 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and Boo Carter and Nico and NIL? I think this is a unique situation that's not Boo Carter and it's not Nico. It's not a money thing. Reports are that Tennessee did well to backload a lot of the money on Chaz Coleman's NIL deal, and this was not a matter of him sitting out and wanting more from Tennessee and NIL. This was not him wanting a payday. This was not Nico and his representation coming to Tennessee saying, hey, yesterday's price is not today's price. I think this is a player who, again, medically disqualified, went through concussion protocol a season ago, had some challenges with that. Again, Josh Heupel has been consistent. He's been working through some things. All the reporting and discussion has been there have been personal things going on with Chaz Coleman. This is not about money. This is not NIL. This is not Josh Heupel. This is a kid who has been through a lot. I'm not going to speculate on all of the details of it because it's not my place. And all of the words have been personal stuff he's working through, and personal's not for me to judge and for me to speculate on. You just wish the guy the best, hope that he can get back in the football field and have a future as a pass rusher because he's got a ton of talent. Mm-hmm. And for Tennessee, you move on with the guys who want to be there. You move on with the guys who are showing up for practice and putting in the time and work right now in Knoxville. And here we go. You move forward. So I don't want to make this a bigger thing or a bigger dialogue and narrative about Josh Heupel in Tennessee. Every team in this sport, the good ones, the bad ones, and everyone in between, they are dealing with players who are creating different challenges for coaches than ever before. In terms of NIL negotiation, in terms of the cars, the perks, all this other stuff that they've got to deal with. Kirby Smart's dealing with it. Kayla DeBoer is dealing with it. Josh Heupel's certainly dealing with it. Let's just not make this a bigger
Nick Saban didn't want to deal with it. And he got out.
That's why he's not coaching anymore. Like, part of the reason why Dusty May is going to be an NBA coach at the Dallas Mavericks. Like, not to say that this is exactly like that, but again, everybody is dealing with challenges they didn't used to have to deal with. And I think as fans, it's unfortunate, but it's something we got to get used to and take this stuff in stride without making it a larger narrative. So, Chaz Coleman, no longer part of the program at Tennessee, medically disqualified. The report from Chris Lowe and from Pete Nakos. There you go. Finally done. Rhett, we are going to take a look at the Titans defense this morning in the same way that we did yesterday on the Titans offense. And we're going to go position by position and call this roster reminders for those who were not with us yesterday. We forgive you. And take a look at where the roster is filled out to where there is still room for needs and compare it to this time last year and how many players at each position the Titans took. Want to start at defensive end and defensive tackle because between those two positions, there are 17 players right now on the Titans roster. 8 defensive ends, 9 defensive tackles. This is an area where we've got to kind of rewire our brains a little bit and understand that they're probably going to carry more of these big guys considering they want to rotate more guys in and out on that defensive
And
end.
going from a base 3-4 to a base 4-3.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
the math is different.
Exactly right. Starting with defensive end, Rhett Bryan, following 8 players who you have on the roster to start training camp. I guess assume, maybe I shouldn't assume that, at the end of minicamp. How about that? David Abuka-Agoha, Keldrick Falk, Jalen Harrell, going into year 3 now, Malik Herring, 6-year player from Georgia, Jermaine Johnson, whom you traded for in the Tavondre Sweat trade at the NFL Combine from the Jets at 6'5", 254, Truman Jones, Jacob Martin, Femi Oladejo as the pure defensive ends, according to the Titans roster.
All right, what did they keep last year? Let's take a look at it's going to look different, obviously, because of the difference in the base sets and how this thing works.
So last season at outside linebacker in a 3-4, they kept 5 guys. Arden Key, now an Indianapolis Colt. Draymond Jones, who is now a New England Patriot. Jalen Harrell, Femi Oladejo, and Jihad Ward. So they kept 5 guys last season. Jihad Ward, a little bit of a hybrid, too, between defensive line. He is one of those guys who was more of a 4-3 defensive end type player, who is kind of a defensive lineman and kind of an outside linebacker. So if you're keeping 4 at defensive end, then again, that may be the wrong way to look at it because it is a different base defense. Keldrick Falk, obviously his first-round pick, in. Jermaine Johnson, in. Penciled in, really sharpied in, I would say, is kind of starting caliber players right now. Femi Oladejo is going to be there. I think Jacob Martin's going to be there.
I have that marked down as well.
As year 9 at a Temple. So I think Jalen Harrell is another one that you feel
he's the 5th that I put
pretty
a check
confident
mark
about.
by.
I think there's 5 guys right now you'd say,
and that's the 5 I checked
is on there.
Yeah.
So there's 3 defensive ends: David Abuka-Agoha, Malik Herring, and Truman Jones on the outside looking in as things currently look right now at defensive end.
No, I would agree with that, and we'll see how this shakes out. But I think those 5. You, barring, again, the unforeseen, you can almost count on them being on the initial 53-man roster.
Okay. All right, so that's 5 at defensive end. D-tackle last season, Rhett, they kept 5 players. Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, James Lynch, and Timmy Horn. I think of the entire roster, could you say this is the group that has the most turnover?
Yeah, I'd say you're right.
Because the only 2 guys that are still around are Jeffrey Simmons and Timmy Horn of that group. And you're going to have a much different look up front. So there's 9 defensive tackles on the roster right now. Ernest Brown IV, year 3 out of Northwestern. Jordan Elliott, year 7 out of Missouri. John Franklin Myers, big free agency addition from the Denver Broncos. Year 9 for him out of Stephen F. Austin. Jalen Holmes, new addition, not the band, the defensive tackle, 7th year out of Ohio State. Timmy Horn, Cam Horsley, 2 guys who were added to this training camp battle last season. Jackie Marshall, the rookie out of Baylor, draft pick on day 3. Jeffrey Simmons and former top 5 pick Solomon Thomas, who is going into year 10 out of Stanford at this point in his career. I think, again, Red, they could keep more than they did last year here.
And how many did they keep last year?
5.
Okay.
So Jeffrey Simmons, spoiler alert, is going to make the roster.
Check mark.
John Franklin Myers, spoiler alert, is going to make the roster. Solomon Thomas,
Check mark. That's 3.
Jackie Marshall.
That's 4.
Jordan Elliott.
That's the 5 I have checked.
I think that's about right. Now, I think what's interesting is, Rhett, John Franklin Myers on certain downs is a defensive end. On passing downs, I think you're going to see John Franklin Myers at times rush from the outside. You're going to see him on some rundowns be a D tackle, be a D end. You're going to see him play everywhere. He is kind of the same chess piece that Danico Autry was in a lot of ways. For a player that can play both inside and outside.
Well, that has to be in the DNA of some of these players based on what Robert Saleh told us in his first couple of availabilities, is that the left defensive end is the guy that stays there. The right defensive end is the guy that may rush from the outside in first and second downs and then move to the inside after that. So couple with the rotation with the snaps counts and those things, there's that part of it.
And I think that's also part of why I feel so good about this defense stopping the run. Because on rundowns, you are probably looking at a starting group of Jermaine Johnson, Jeffrey Simmons, Jordan Elliott / Solomon Thomas, and John Franklin Myers. Then on passing downs, you can bring in Keldrick Falk, Femi Oladejo. You move JFM inside. You have Jeffrey Simmons, obviously, and you still have Jermaine Johnson as well, who is in that speed rusher spot that's not going to change as much.
Yep.
I like it. Red, if that group stays healthy, I think the Titans are formidable up front. I think they got a chance to be pretty dang good up front.
Well, and we're about to get to this next level with the linebackers, but I said it yesterday. If this front seven works like I think it's going to work and everything kind of sets itself, that secondary is going to have some fun because there's going to be some stuff come their way that is gift wrapped at times.
I think so. At linebacker, you have 9 players currently in competition. Last season, the Titans kept 4. Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, James Williams, and Curtis Jacobs. Those are their 4 inside linebackers. You remember Anthony Orji had the knee injury in training camp. Probably would have been that 4th guy had he been healthy and been a core special teamer and a big contributor on this defense a season ago. Obviously, Dorian Mausi was a player they picked up on waivers as well at the very end of camp, and he ended up being on the first, week 1 53-man roster because, again, this was out of camp before the Titans, who had the number 1 spot in the waiver claim, were able to make a couple of additions off of waivers. So at linebacker right now, you have Cody Barton, UDFA Shad Banks out of UTSA. Meet. Sean Brown, undrafted rookie from North Carolina State. Mahmoud Diabate, 4th-year player to Utah, who comes over from the Cleveland Browns. 4'3" outside linebacker. Cedric Gray, rookie Anthony Hill Jr., 2nd-year player out of Auburn, the aforementioned Dorian Mausi. Manny Powell, UDFA out of Purdue, and James Williams Sr., who is now going into year 3 out of Miami. Red, it's interesting to me. They've got 3 UDFAs at inside linebacker. Tells me that there was either just a lot of value there and some guys they didn't expect to get out of the 7th round. Could also tell us that they're looking for one of these guys to make the roster and stick and bringing in 3 guys who are UDFAs.
And we'll see how many they keep because they kept, what'd you say, 4 last year?
4 last year. Yep.
Yeah. All right, so Cody Barton.
Sharpie.
Check mark. Shad Banks. Sean Brown. I'm keeping moving now.
Yep.
Mahmoud Diabate. I have a check mark there.
I do too.
Cedric Gray, you better have a check mark by. Anthony Hill Jr., you better have a check mark by. But where it gets interesting as we go down through this list alphabetically is it Dorian Mausi or is it James Williams?
I think that's
I have
that's
6
the challenge
check marks. Yeah, I have 6 different guys there. And so let's see how that plays out.
And it may come down to who makes a bigger impact on special teams.
Which
between those guys,
James Williams, both of those guys made
all of them.
Yeah,
all 3 of them. I would say you probably have at most 2 spots between the trio of Diabate, Williams, and Mausi.
It's what Justin Mello brought up so aptly yesterday when we were going through the offense, talking about the tight end group, and that David Martin Robinson had the most special team snaps of anybody on the dang team.
Right.
So that's the roster gymnastics part of this, is where does that third phase come into the play?
And this is where, again, you are starting to have to evaluate guys who are at very different positions, because David Martin Robinson is not only competing with Kylan Granson to make the roster, he's competing with Dorian Mausi and Micah Robinson, who we're going to talk about in a minute, and Kendall Brooks at safety in a crowded safety room that was a part of things last year. So that's the tricky part in all of this, is that, yes, tight ends are competing with tight ends, but at times tight ends are competing with safeties and linebackers. At corner, they have 9 players on the roster right now. A season ago out of camp, Rhett, they kept 6. This is another position where you have the most turnover of any place on the roster. Last season, the 6 corners who made the team out of camp: L'Jarius Sneed, Daryl Baker Jr., Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Roger McCreary, Gabe Judy Lally, and Marcus Harris.
And only one of those remains.
So that answers my question from earlier. That is the position with the most turnover. And it probably isn't really close.
Lord.
Yeah. So Marcus Harris is the one guy I would say Rhett is in pen to make this team.
I have a check mark by his name.
Okay. 9 corners currently in contention. Keedrain Callaghan, who I thought did some good things during OTAs and minicamp. Cordell Flott, big free agency addition for the New York Giants. Big-time check mark there. Marcus Harris, who we put a check mark with. Jaden Lucas is a UDFA from Clemson. Latrell McCutcheon Sr. is a really interesting prospect. UDFA out of Houston. He is got a really interesting story, Rhett, because he did not have an interception in all of college, but he had a ton of PBUs, ton of pass breakups. Have the Titans seen something on film to say maybe, hey, we can
say he had
coach
like
you
28
to get
PBUs in college?
It was around that number of, can you teach a guy like that to get 2 hands on the football versus 1? Are you in enough good positions to where you feel like there's a higher ceiling there? Jalen McMurray, Vol, one of 3 UDFAs as well at the cornerback position. Micah Robinson, whom we mentioned. Again, that's another player that was added late in the process from the Green Bay Packers last year, former Tulane Green Wave corner. Alante Taylor, Sharpie, big-time addition from the New Orleans Saints in the offseason. And then Joshua Williams, a fifth-year player from Fayetteville State, former Kansas City Chief, who was a UDFA 5 years ago. I've got him in pen as well, Rhett.
So here's
as the 4th corner.
To go back to what you through the whole 9 that they have at that position, I have Keedrain Callaghan, check mark. Same for Cordell Flott. Same for Marcus Harris. That's 3. The 4th, I have Micah Robinson. The 5th, I have Alante Taylor for obvious reasons with the money tied to that. And then the 6th one I have is Joshua Williams. That's what I have right now as it stands, just looking at the numbers of this. Does one of these other kids push that? But the reason I say Joshua Williams as the last one, and just going in alphabetical order, the special teams value there.
Yes.
Because that's what he was basically relegated to in the 2025 secondary depth chart for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And last season, Jalen Armour Davis was the waiver claim that they made from Baltimore right at the end of all of this, who was not on this initial roster. He took that spot that Gabe Judy Lally initially had out of camp for the Titans, and then you had Robinson added shortly thereafter as well. So lots of playing time up for grabs behind the first 2, I would say. And they got a good look at Marcus Harris through OTAs and minicamp.
Very active.
That's a position where maybe you could see them continue to evaluate what nickels are available. Again, you have 3 UDFAs here. Is that because you liked the value of 3 guys who you, again, weren't sure why they were available, not getting picked in round 7? Or is that a spot where you want somebody to potentially stick and be a project that can stick at the practice squad and be a long-term option for you at corner?
Or do you have an eyeball on Kenny Moore?
who made some headlines yesterday as well, telling SiriusXM he wants to go to a winner this upcoming season. And Kenny Moore, who has played for Gus Bradley as a defensive coordinator in Indianapolis a few years ago at the nickel position.
And has a lot of experience.
He does. And if I'm Kenny Moore's representatives too, I'm telling him, like, hey, there's also a world where you could go do what Draymond Jones did last year, sign a 1-year prove-it deal somewhere if you want to just confirm that you have a place to play football in 2026. And if you play well enough, a winner will call for you and try to trade for you at the trade deadline.
And then you end up parlaying that into a big free agency contract, as he did with the New England Patriots.
Yep. Absolutely right. At safety, the Titans kept 5 players a season ago.
5.
What does that group look like this season? There is a player that Justin Mello mentioned yesterday, a name you might not know yet that you should be tuned into just a little bit. We'll do that coming up next as we continue roster reminders on the Titans defense. 615-737-1045 if you want to jump in as Hour 3 continues next.
It's Ramon Foster, and I'm with Aaron from United Structure Systems. Man, they came by today to check out my house. If there's anything, any issues, small or big, you're going to fill us in there.
We can take care of it no matter what kind of problems. So first off, we'll just kind of take a look through your house and see what kind of issues you got going. You know, cracks in the brick, cracks in the drywall, weird spots in the floor, doors sticking, windows not opening properly. Once we identify those areas, we're going to do a thorough inspection around the outside, make sure there's no issues going on with that. And then once we look over it, we'll talk about what's going on, and hopefully we ain't got no issues, and then we'll go from there.
Let's go. Let's go.
Ms. Foster, so we have looked at the issues that you brought up. We had the drywall in the attic up here above your bonus or your garage. You had some doors sticking.
I did.
Going in your bathroom. So we've inspected all that. We don't see any major structural concerns. So you're going to be one of our lucky good news customers today. There is some minor deflection there. That's not an uncommon thing. As any house is built, it's its biggest and its strongest the day that it's born. Gotcha. Right? And from that point, it just gets older, just like us. We ain't hopping up out of bed, taking off down the hallway, running downstairs. And
not protecting quarterbacks anymore.
No.
Opening up late. We're done.
Your guard ain't there no more.
Okay,
so,
I got you.
So it just happens. It gets a little older and it starts to deflect. Now, there are some things we can do to kind of help adjust those doors, mainly adjusting in the door, which we don't necessarily do, and maybe doing some light shimming in the crawl space down there to address those sticking doors. But for now, no major issues there. We did talk about the grading in the back and some issues that we can take care of back there for you. But that's pretty much up in a nutshell. No big issues and you're good to go. So.
Awesome. So again, what you deal with United Structural Systems is it's upfront, it's honest, and now I can sleep peacefully at night, okay?
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
Wrapping up hour number 3 this morning on Ramon and Will. Rep Brian, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, 615-737-1045. If you are sleeping in this morning and did not hear Brent Hubbs earlier in the show, we'll play you what he had to say about the Tennessee quarterback battle earlier today, coming up here in just about 15 minutes. And still to come, we are drafting the best broadcast calls in sports. One of the most fun drafts I think we've done. I'm looking forward to coming up here in hour number 4 as well. All right, Rhett, we are going through the roster gymnastics right now of where things currently stand with the Titans defense after minicamp, before training camp. They've got 8 safeties on the roster right now, and this was the place where they were heavy a season ago. They kept 5 safeties last year. And maybe this is a spot where you could see 1 or 2 less guys there in order to make room for more players in your front 7 for the changes in scheme under new head coach Robert Saleh. So the 8 safeties currently there: Tony Adams, Kendall Brooks, UDFA from USC, Bishop Fitzgerald. That's a name that Justin Mello mentioned to us yesterday. Might have the best chance to make this team as a UDFA in this class. Eric Hallett, who was here for a little bit last year, Amani Hooker, Sanusi Kane, Jarek Reed, and Kevin Winston Jr. Jarek Reed is another special teamer who is battling to make this team against linebackers, corners, and even some tight ends, as much as he is his fellow safeties within all of this.
And who was brought in last year and saw quite a bit of playing time down the stretch. So let's just say they kept 5 again. I'm just going by that. I don't know if that's a thing. I've got a check mark by Tony Adams.
Yes.
I've got one by Kendall Brooks because of the special teams part of this.
Okay.
And dude can move in there. I've got Bishop Fitzgerald in that mix as well. And then Amani Hooker and Kevin Winston Jr. as your starters. That's kind of how I see that.
I think they may take 4 safeties.
Yeah. So
I think it'd be Tony Adams.
Okay, go ahead.
Amani Hooker, Kevin Winston Jr., and then one of Kendall Brooks, Bishop Fitzgerald, or Jarek Reed.
Okay.
I think one of those 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's mention, too, as I did yesterday, you have specialists that are listed under offense. We have one specialist listed under defense, and that is the new punter, Tommy Townsend, who is, by the way, crushing the football.
Love that.
Man, I've got some hand-timed hang time of his, I mean, in the 4.8, 4.9, like.
Sounds like it could be a Bonnaroo band. Hand-timed hang time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. like Tommy Townsend on this roster.
I think safety is going to be an interesting spot. I think fans are going to learn very quickly why Robert Saleh wanted to also bring Tony Adams over from his old Jets defense. I think he's a player that quickly becomes, I wouldn't say household name, but becomes a guy that you are accustomed to seeing out there quite a bit. It's early. We're not reading too much, and heck, we're not even really.
And we're not saying like this is who's making the roster. No. We're just kind of throwing it out. You know,
he's played a lot of football
on stamped today's date and just seeing what it is post mini camp and off season activities leading up to and before training camp begins.
Andy in Clarksville wants to chime in on the Titans. 615-737-1045. What's up, Andy?
Yeah, when we're talking about the Titans, when you guys started talking about the defensive ends and defensive line, I started salivating. I really think that's going to be the anchor of the team this year, the entire defense for that matter. But I also was hoping you guys could talk about the practice squad rules, because I know that there are certain players, they have a certain amount of time in the NFL, and they can't go to the practice squad or a certain amount of times. Maybe you could talk about that. Before you get to that, I just wanted to put in my 2 cents for the best call. Because I'm a Minnesota Twins fan, I'm partial to 1991, Atlanta versus Minnesota, Game 6, when they knock it out, and Jack Buck just goes, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Awful. A great call, but awful moment. Yeah, thank you for the reminder, Andy.
Andy, appreciate the call.
Appreciate you.
So the one thing that has changed drastically with the practice squad is the byproduct of COVID.
Yes.
And so now that stuff isn't as much a thing. You can have long tenured veterans that you keep on your practice squad.
Yes. So the eligibility stuff, the way that works is of the 16 core spots, at least 10 of them must be occupied by rookies or players with 2 or fewer accrued seasons.
Right.
The remaining 6 spots are open to veterans with unlimited NFL experience.
And like I said, you have COVID to thank for that, which that's a short list of what you can thank COVID for.
That's right.
But so yeah, because that was the crazy thing to get used to in that COVID year. If you'll remember this, the Houston Texans had Josh McCown on their practice squad, a damn 40-year-old quarterback.
Right.
And I was like, that is so strange to see, who is on practice squads.
Right.
Now it's become more of a normal thing once they said, yep, this works. Let's keep this. Let's keep it moving forward.
It's going to be interesting to see, too, who they feel like they can push through the waivers process. Because, again, you are subject to waivers as you get through training camp. So guys like Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon last year were kept on the initial 53-man roster because the Titans were confident somebody would claim him if they cut Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon after camp. To me, that's where Bishop Fitzgerald could benefit from interest elsewhere. It's funny, Bishop Fitzgerald in the Beast and Dane Brugler's draft guide of The Athletic was ranked higher than one of the Jags, I believe, 5th-round draft picks as overall safeties. Bishop Fitzgerald was seen as a player that could go in the 6th or 7th round and was picked up as a UDFA by the Titans. That is a player to watch, and I think maybe Rhett, the best chance for any of these UDFAs to make the team probably is his as a safety and as a core special teamer. And there's always a couple guys who do, and there are always a few surprises on UDFAs who make it for the exact reason we just said, of guys that may be behind in terms of overall talent and ability to help you right now, of guys they're battling against, but guys that you don't feel like you can push through to the practice squad as well.
I'm interested to see that part of the roster gymnastics in the window of time you're talking about, because with what they've invested in free agency and certainly through a bunch of draft picks in the last couple of years, an earmark of growing success is when you see less of that happening, less UDFAs making the team. And so we'll see where that mark is, who what that number of undrafteds that make it through, regardless of whether they're trying to keep them from getting poached.
Sure. Well, we're kind of wrapping a bow on this on offense and defense, Rhett. We have a lot of guys in pencil at this point. And for a 53-man roster, it feels like there are 10 to 15 spots maybe that are just totally up for grabs at this point of the process. And who knows who else is going to become available, or who else unfortunately gets hurt on this team or on others and creates trade markets for players like Will Levis, or different options that you have within the entire roster to be able to get some draft capital back, especially considering how aggressive you were in trading up in this last draft. So we'll see. Mike Borgonzi and his team has a lot of work to do after the downtime of this month ends. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
We'll be there to watch it and see it and report about it.
Absolutely will. No doubt. Coming up, what Brent Hubbs said earlier this morning about the Tennessee quarterback battle, about where things stand in the Vols' recruitment of David Gabriel Georges, and the big breaking news on the Vols front from a couple of minutes ago as well regarding Chaz Coleman. We'll hit the Vols headlines for you as we begin hour number 4, the final hour of the week on Ramon and Will after this.
9:01. Good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. Breaking Tennessee Vols football news this morning as Josh Heupel and the Vols have parted ways with Penn State transfer edge rusher Chaz Coleman, per On3's Pete Nakos and Chris Lowe reports. Coleman has been medically disqualified from the Vols roster. In the World Cup Thursday night, the U.S. fall to Turkey 3-2 as the U.S. surrendered the game-winning goal in the 98th minutes, the only win for Turkey in the tournament, and are also eliminated from the World Cup contention. USA coach Mauricio Pochettino fielded 9 new starters last night, but star midfielder Christian Pulisic was able to enter the match in the 58th minute. Pulisic has not played since the first half of the opener against Paraguay due to a calf injury. The U.S. will move on to the round of 32, where they'll meet up with Bosnia next Wednesday in Santa Clara, California at Levi's Stadium. Tonight, the NHL entry draft begins with round 1 of ESPN at 7 o'clock. Rounds 2 through 7 will continue tomorrow on NHL Network. The Nashville Predators, they hold 11 picks in this year's draft, including the 10th overall pick coming up tonight. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Vols, Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into the fourth and final hour of the show that plays its best ball in the fourth quarter. Here on Ramon and Will, I am very excited about the Ramon and Will draft we have coming up in 20 minutes of the best broadcast calls of all time. Pumped to do this. Rhett Bryan is here to join us for it. He is in for Ramon Foster this morning. Ramon will be back after the July 4th weekend. We'll have Kevin Dyson hanging out with us a little bit next week as well on our 3-day work week. Justin Hawkins, Jayhawks got one more hour.
Yikes.
Before fatherhood and that knock on the door.
Papa Hawk.
Gets a little bit louder. How we feeling?
Oh, my
Vibe
goodness.
check.
Well, I was doing okay until you mentioned
I'm
like
sorry.
that.
All right,
It's
anyway.
kind of like, wow.
You want me to talk
Hold
about
on.
Chaz Coleman instead?
Wait, so then I get to leave,
Instead
and
of-
then ooh, man.
Instead of Creed going, one more week.
That's right.
One more hour.
One more hour. That's right. What we're hearing.
Yeah, I don't know if you were in this situation and you had to choose between, not obviously you don't get to choose, but if you
Sure.
had to, between getting induced, so you know, like, all right, we're going to the hospital at 8 o'clock on Sunday, or just a random hour, second of the day, could be today, could be tomorrow, could be Sunday morning, water breaks.
No, I would go with the induction.
Yeah,
Let's plan it and go.
I would
I'm
rather.
so far from being able to empathize physically with all those things and challenges and what that's like that I don't even have any frame of reference. I have no clue.
Well,
See,
the
for
only
me-
reason I say it is just, obviously, we adopted our daughter, so we didn't experience any of that. But if you're talking choice, and there is no choice, to your point, but I'm like, I'd rather go with let's plan this thing out.
For me, I think I'd rather be the spontaneous. What the heck did I just say?
Spontaneous?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Spontaneous factor.
Fatherhood's
and-
knocking.
Yeah, right. I'd rather just be spontaneous and it just happens. And then you're like, oh, let's go. All right, let's get bag. Let's get it in the car. Let's get the car seat. Let's get the stroller. Let's get it all in the car. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go. Versus, well, let's go to dinner and, well, let's pay the bill.
Here we
Yep.
go.
You ready to go have a baby?
All right. Yeah, exactly.
I would rather that because it's just, you got to wait all day Sunday. Then you just got to keep kind of
Sure.
chugging along. I'd rather it just happen.
I get it.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a call every time that she calls me, whether it be in the middle of the day or.
Is it go
whatever.
time?
Yeah, literally. I'll
It's
answer.
happening!
Yeah.
Where's
mom-
my go bag?
My mom does the same thing. She's like, "Nope, false alarm." Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, my
right.
God, it's happening.
That's right.
I'm just
Oh,
thinking
wait,
of
so
Michael
what is-
Scott in
Stay
the
calm.
office.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Stay calm. That's
nobody,
right.
nobody cares what else you have to say. Just like, oh, nope, false alarm. Okay, what else? What did you really want to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why am I here for this?
Exactly right. Well, we're praying for you. We're wishing you the best. You guys,
Yes, we are.
You guys will get through it, and like Rhett said earlier, there'll be a lot of moments where things don't feel okay, and it will all work out.
Well,
It
what
will
would
all
be kind of
okay.
cool is if we do have to go the full induction route, is maybe he comes sometime on the show on Monday, and we'll I get to send y'all some pictures.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Cool.
That
moment.
would be very cool.
Get him on the phone and say, repeat after me. Will.
Of course.
Again in the office.
That's what he's already pining.
Oh, yeah.
For Tatum's first
That's exactly
word.
right.
Like,
We're gonna have to have
man.
a bet like what the first word is.
It's-
Is it mama or dada? And then see who gets mad first.
That's fair. Again, that's an office quote for those unfamiliar. I'm not just being a narcissist. Michael
it's-
Scott holds Jim
I
and
knew what
Pam's
you were
baby,
doing.
Cece, and she goes, Michael. And Jim goes, it's funny, she was saying it right before you walked in here.
It's a baby, see?
Which is low-key one of the best throwaway lines of the whole show. Like, that's funny. She was just saying it right before you got
Smoking
here.
a cigar. You can't do smoke that in
Sorry,
here.
you can't
It's
smoke
a
that in here.
baby, see?
You can't smoke anywhere in
Yeah.
these days. Hilarious. Hilarious. All right, Brent Hubbs was on with us earlier this morning as the Tennessee Volunteers offseason continues, and they'll get a little break next week on July 4th week as well. What's the latest on the quarterback battle between George McIntyre and Faison Brandon? Here's Brent Hubbs with us earlier this morning.
Well, I mean, I think they both have done well. I think that, physically, Faison's obviously bigger. But I think both those guys have done a lot of good things. I don't think it's over. I know a lot of people are sort of speculating somebody's out in front or it's leaning a certain way. I don't think it's that. I think you got to go win it. Josh Heupel's made it very clear. You got to go win it in front of your teammates. That's the next month. That's fall camp. That's 2 scrimmages. So I would tell you it's probably about where it's been because I don't think Josh Heupel's passing judgment right now. And so in his mind, I think it's sort of unchanged. It's just a battle. And we'll see who goes out and competes and performs the best and gets themselves ready to perform the best. That's really what the next month is for those guys, is getting themselves ready to perform the way they need to perform when you get into fall camp and scrimmage settings.
More for Brent Hubbs this morning as well on the other players who have been catching the eye of their teammates and coaches, guys who are getting good reviews at this point of the offseason.
Well, I mean, I think you have to be careful just from the standpoint of not many people have had bad summers. Now, there's been a few, okay, so let's be honest here. We've known of a few that didn't do what they were supposed to do, but, the reviews on this team and their work ethic has been good. I think Nathan Robinson, because he's been healthy for the first time in his career in the offseason, has done really well, has had a good offseason. I think the freshman linebacker, Braden Rouse, has really enjoyed the weight room. I think it's been good to him. Now he's got a lot of competition at that position. T. Landry's a guy that is a forgotten man, but has has seemed to gel really well with Derek Owens. I think he's better physically than he's been. So there's some competition there. I think TJ Metcalf has done really well. Probably a little bit of a forgotten man because he's just assumed to be a starter because of his experience. But I think he's adjusted well to the new system, and I think he's showing some leadership skills, as is Nathan Robinson. So, I think overall this coaching staff is pleased with where they are. They just know that there's work to be done over the next month.
There's Brent Hubbs with us earlier this morning. Get him every Friday at 7:20 and available wherever you download podcasts. Red, it doesn't sound like there's been a ton of movement in the quarterback battle part of this. And until you get bullets flying in scrimmages, to get into Neyland and can really start to turn up the heat and let Jim Knowles empty the playbook against these guys, I think there's only so much that can really be done this time of year. And anybody pretending that this thing is done by any stretch of the imagination or that somebody is making major headway in one way or another is kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what's sticking.
Well,
right now.
Brent Hubbs is not a guy that usually talks in absolutes. And I didn't hear any time that he's been on y'all's show in the past several months. Well, it's Faison Brandon's to lose. No, we're not getting that far. I think if you had to look at it and you had to guess, it might be his to win. Mm-hmm. But there's no great margin in all of that. And he keeps talking about this. He will name a starter after that second scrimmage because then he will have a body of work to have been looked at then and to make the evaluation at that point.
And just
Could
because...
it be George McIntyre? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Faison Brandon, though.
Just because, too, somebody wins the job week 1 does not mean that when Texas comes to town at the end of September that guy's still going to be the starter. I mean, Joe Milton won a quarterback battle between Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker in 2021, and one game against Pittsburgh a few weeks later, and all of a sudden here comes Hendon Hooker, and that was the beginning of his nearly Heisman campaign that started the next season in 2022. Not to say one of these guys is going to win the Heisman or be in contention next year, but the battle will not be over when a week 1 starter is named, and even really when a week 2 starter is named, because that Georgia Tech game week 2 is going to be a much different challenge than, respectfully, the Furman Paladins in week 1. But
you love saying the Furman Paladins.
I do.
No, you're right, because it's in a little different way. It's like saying who's on the initial 53-man roster for the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
Who is on the actual roster right before they play could be different.
It could be.
And, the quarterback, I mean, injuries happen, there's all kinds of crazy things that can happen.
Do you see this going further than just out of camp and into the first week? Like, okay, so your first 3 weeks is Furman, Georgia Tech, and Kennesaw State. I can see you struggling to find the guy until you have to face Texas, and then you're kind of, this is the guy, because you're given Furman, which is, I mean, not to disparage them, but it's kind of like
both guys could get a half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Kennesaw State is much the same way.
I mean, Josh Heupel's been pretty consistent, though, that when he does name a starter, he wants to keep it that way. For me, it's more, if George wins the battle week 1, how long of a leash is he given? I think Faison Brandon may get more of a leash simply because he is a true freshman and he is seen, from what I've read and heard, as more of the future of the program. Both guys have something big in their corner of this. George McIntyre's is obvious. It is the experience and time on task in this system, being a part of the team for a year, being on the sideline, going through a weight process, understanding what it's like to be a college quarterback in this system. It's obviously the big thing in George McIntyre's corner. I'm starting to think, though, guys, that the thing in Faison Brandon's corner is the fact that he may have the tiebreaker on just being the younger player. Meaning that if all things are equal between Faison Brandon and George McIntyre, you may be more inclined to go Faison Brandon because he's got extra time and, again, is seen as more of the future, as maybe having the higher ceiling of the two players. Now, I think Josh Heupel, considering the pressure on him to win this season, he's got to go with the better quarterback. And I say, if all things are equal, well, things probably won't be equal. There's probably going to be somebody who's marginally better performing in the scrimmages. But how much of a lead does George McIntyre have to have in order to win the job, simply because of how much potential Faison Brandon has? Because this staff doesn't want a Jake Fromm, Justin Fields situation where you send a potential Heisman candidate to another school that you already had on campus because you went with the experienced guy. Not an exact comparison, because Jake Fromm had way more experience at Georgia than George McIntyre has at Tennessee right now, but the dynamic is similar in that it's a big risk that you go with George, he does well, you might lose Faison and never get to see him start for Tennessee.
Well, and I go back to what Justin just said a moment ago. Knowing what you have in those first 3, and then knowing that Texas is on there as the first powerhouse that you're going up against, that's obviously the litmus test for whoever it is. But is it the tipping point? Because somebody's got to keep Colin Simmons away from him, whoever him is. Because Colin Simmons and that Longhorns defense, no joke. Colin Simmons is the number 1 pass rusher in the country.
They got the number 1 corner in the country, too, in the NFL draft.
I mean, I've seen Colin Simmons in person. He does not disappoint. I have visions of him being in Tennessee Titans blue. I would like very much to see that at some point. But that's going to be the challenge. But you got to get to that point.
Right.
I almost, based off what you were saying, as when you get to Texas and you have these two quarterbacks, and if all things are equal, do you just go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt to the younger guy because you want to keep him for your future? And
that's what I just said, right?
But just kind of like putting it into pen and paper, like we're just going to ride or die with it, and maybe you just lose George instead. And you kind of pick your battles and say, I'd rather lose George over Faison.
I think the other part of this, Josh Pates mentioned this on his show. I don't know if Tennessee's going to ask their quarterback to do all that much this year because you love what you have in Deshaun Bishop coming back at running back. Javen Gordon has received some pretty good reviews from people up there, the Tulane transfer, and Dwan Morris, the Oakland product. Shout out, Rhett.
Big O.
At running back, too, is going to be a part of that three-headed monster. As good as Tennessee was at run blocking last year on their offensive line, they bring back 4 of those 5 starters. It may be the better deep ball passer who can take advantage of the big chunk plays when they're there is the one who's the starting quarterback, because I think you're going to be able to establish the run so well. You're going to ask that quarterback to, hey, when the big play's there, just make it. Just hit it. And that's what Joey Aguilar was so good at doing last season when he was totally healthy and before the tumor in his right arm, I think, hurt his arm strength a little bit down the stretch.
And Brazel show.
Took away Tennessee's deep passing game. Vols have got 2 potential all-SEC receivers coming back who can run those deep routes, but I think can also take some underneath stuff and make guys miss and have some yak yardage. Like, there are really good pieces around whoever's going to be the quarterback on this offense. And Ramon and I talked about it a few weeks ago. I'm honestly more concerned about pass rush than I am quarterback without Chaz Coleman now officially on this team. It's kind of where I'm at this point. So we'll see. Going to be interesting. We love a quarterback battle in media. It's great for us, great for writers, great for VolQuest, and it's going to be fun to follow. But there's a long way to go. And until that second scrimmage in August, just keep your powder dry on anybody saying there's anybody with some kind of significant lead.
Yep.
Coming up, the best broadcast calls of all time, a draft that I am stoked for after this. Hour 4, Ramon and Will. Rhett Bryan, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, at Ramon and Will on Twitter. Or X, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to call it. All right, we are back at another Ramon and Will draft. Yesterday we did American sports moments. I believe Justin took the win on the Twitter poll. It's well done by you.
It's probably the Miracle on Ice. Did it?
It definitely helps. I don't know. You
just
already
having the first overall pick and picking wisely also.
Yes.
Like some of that's you, but some of it's that too.
Oh, okay, fine. Don't give me the credit. Okay, fine.
Well, you said it first.
We'll see what happens today. Well, I could say it, not you.
All right, Wheel of Names has our 3 names on it. I am in red, Rhett is in blue, and Justin is in yellow. I am going to spin the wheel for the first pick. Here we go. And Rhett Bryan. We'll get the first pick.
Sweet.
Rhett Bryan picks first.
Cheater.
All right, so I'll remove his name. And spinning again. Here we go. For the second pick. Justin Hawkins, second pick. I will take the third pick.
Hello.
Okay.
Hey.
So let me reposition on the graphic.
All right, I think I've
On the
got
left.
all the clips
In the middle.
at our disposal.
I'll be on the right. Fantastic. So, Rhett Bryan, your number 1 broadcast call of all time is what?
It's easy for me.
I figured.
And it's close to home, of course.
Uh-huh.
It's January 8th, 2000, the wild card playoff game at then Adelphia Coliseum. As the Titans go 13-3, and they go to the playoffs and did not get pink slips as they host the Buffalo Bills, and they're down in score. Then this happened.
Do the Titans have a miracle left in them in what has been a magical season to this point? If they do, they need it now. Christie kicks it high and short. Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30,
He's got
40,
something.
50,
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
I mean, it's the
16
only
seconds
option.
left. Yeah.
It's the only option to go number 1.
Well, and the thing is, if we're calling this the greatest calls draft, I mean, obviously it's our opinions, but that one holds up. I mean, when they had the Super Bowl 50, it was play number 9, by the league, by people that care about that stuff.
Sure.
Like we care about that stuff. The thing that makes me giggle inside, you'll hear it when you play it again sometime. But the late Jim Curry was our statistician because there were no game statistical information systems, Jesus stats as we call it, to follow along back then. And you can hear when Dice is down between the 30 and the 20 headed towards the end zone, you can hear faintly, "Oh, Lord!" That's Jim Curry. You can
Really?
hear,
I've never noticed that before.
"Oh, Lord!" he would say.
Nice.
And God, electric.
What
But
was-
that has to be the number 1 pick for me.
What was your perspective? What do you remember about that play from where you were sitting and what you were thinking in that moment?
It was booth 5 at that time, so a little closer to the 50.
Okay.
And I was the spotter for Mike, and Jim Curry was sitting next to me. And I'm the only person in the world can say that they had stereo of Pat Ryan and Mike Keith, but you could see it develop. And I had seen them do this at the end of practice. So, I mean, I knew there was something there in terms of a trick up the sleeve of Alan Lowry and Jeff Fisher.
Sure.
But just to see it all take place and then thinking hindsight how the guys that were supposed to be involved in the play were not in the ball game and were dinged up. I mean, that story is always, Kevin Dyson's saying, "I'm doing what? I'm not in on that play." I go, "You want me to do what?"
Yeah, right. Home run throwback.
Lorenzo Neal catching it and then pitching it to Frank, and then Frank, beautiful lateral. Sorry, Buffalo.
Yeah,
It was a
lateral for sure. Yeah, lateral.
and then Dice he had to go back. That right foot goes back to show that that's a lateral.
Which is why it's lateral, exactly.
But everybody sucked in on Frank and Lorenzo, and the rest was history with a wall of blockers. Electric.
Amazing.
It's the only way to describe it's electric, and it's one of the few times where I had my headphone box potted up as loud as it would go, and I still could not hear. I could hear more of Mike and Pat doing their tango outside of my headphones than I could in them because it was so loud in that stadium.
I love it.
Wow.
So anyway.
I like it. It's a great first pick. It was the only first pick.
Yeah.
All of us were going to take that number 1 overall. Absolutely. All right, Justin, your second pick. Best broadcast call of all time.
Well, I guess we'll go from one miracle to the next. I took it last week. I took it yesterday.
All right.
So we're going to take it again. 1980, the Winter Olympics in the U.S. I think it was in New York when the U.S. beat the Soviet Union.
Lake Placid.
Placid, that's right.
Man, just taking down the giant that was and overcoming that in a period where U.S. hockey was overcoming a lot of adversity. They sent all the college ranks up to the Olympics and the massive underdog, and then this game before they take the gold medal against Finland 4-2. So here's the miracle.
And Justin, listen, before you play that, where the world was, because this is when the Cold War is still going on.
Yeah.
So that's the greater overreaching, like all of those things you say are so true. But the Cold War just makes it so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Now Johnson, 19 seconds. Johnson over to Ramsey. Ilya Letonov gets checked by Ramsey. McClanahan is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Very good.
I have goosebumps right now.
I do too.
We played it yesterday, and I still got goosebumps again.
Yeah. It just
It's wild.
never gets old. What a
I
great
love it.
second pick by you, sir.
I absolutely love it. It's good stuff. All right. Man, I've got so many options. Oh, my gosh. I got 2 in a row here. I'm going to start with Game 1 of the 1988 World Series.
Ooh.
Jack Buck on CBS radio. This was a game where Don Drysdale's calling Dodgers radio. Jack Buck is calling CBS radio. I believe you have Vin Scully on the NBC call of this game, all in the same press box, calling Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. Kurt Gibson, in the famous words, "I don't believe what I just saw."
Force at second base.
Yeah, he would run for Gibson and have sacks batting. But we have a big 3-2 pitch coming here from Eckersley. Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson. And the Dodgers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw. I don't believe what I just saw. Is this really happening, Bill?
It is happening, and they've got to help him home.
Incredible. Jack Buck on the call, CBS radio. I have chills, and I hate the Dodgers, but that is an iconic moment in sports and an iconic broadcast call of Kurt Gibson limping around the bases, hitting a walk-off home
fist
run.
pump when he rounds first.
That's right. In Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. Yeah.
No, that's a great one.
And it's not on my list, but a couple of years ago when Freddie Freeman hit against the Yankees, the walk-off grand slam to win Game 1 of the World Series a couple years ago, and Joe Davis, who I think is a terrific broadcaster on Fox, one of my favorite broadcasters currently doing any sport right now, who's also the voice of the Dodgers on television and replaced the legendary Vin Scully. His call was Gibby meet Freddie. Of, again, Game 1 of a World Series and a walk-off home run in Dodger
Nice way
Stadium.
to tie it together.
Over the right field fence.
Yep.
Very similar in that way. So, I don't believe what I just saw. Jack Buck on the call for Kurt Gibson's 1988 World Series home run. My second pick, Joe Starkey on the call for The Play. Stanford and Cal, and when the band was on the field.
I have so many tabs open
In a
right
moment.
now.
I should have
Stand by for
teed that up
news.
for you
All right,
a little
here we
bit
go.
better. That's my fault.
Here we go.
All right, here we go with the kickoff. Harmon will probably try to squib it, and he does. Ball comes loose, and the Bears have to get out of bounds. Rodgers along the sideline, another one. They're still in deep trouble at midfield. They tried to do a couple of... The ball is still loose as they get it to Rodgers. They give it back now to the 30. They're down to the 20. Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. He's going to the end zone. Will it count? The Bears have scored, but the bands are out on the field. There were flags all over the place. Everybody's milling around on the field. The Bears have won.
That's a fantastic call, man.
1982.
Yes, sir.
Cal, Stanford, the big game,
bands
and
are on
the
the
play.
field.
That's on the field. It goes to show, too, for any broadcaster out there, like the best moments and the best calls sometimes are just your raw emotion and what you are thinking in the moment. It's not what you've scripted in your head. It's not anything you could ever be prepared for. It's just being real and reacting the way the fans are. And there are probably a lot of fans in the stadium in that moment that were putting probably some expletives in the middle of, oh my gosh, the band is on the field. But incredible call from Joe Starkey for the play in 1982. Yeah.
All right.
That's a perfect segue until just the emotional reaction that you get from any given play that could happen at any given moment. And in this specific play back in 2013 with the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Alabama set to have a over 50-yard, almost 60-yard field goal out, and Nick Saban should have never put the kicker onto the field for this moment. So Auburn puts
Glad
the
he
guy,
did.
What was the guy's name that returned?
Chris Davis.
Take
it out from the 10.
Yeah.
Davis to the 15, to the 20. Oh my gosh, Davis, there goes.
Well, I guess if this thing comes up short, he can field it and run it out. All right, here we go.
Sorry, Bama fans.
56-yarder. It does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 109 yards. They're not going to keep him off the field tonight. Holy cow.
I love it.
I forget
R.I.P. Rod Bramblett.
I forgot what a great call that was. That's the thing that makes these things so, like, some of it is a memory for you. Some of it is a memory for, maybe it's your team, but just the organic moment that happens.
Yeah.
I remember
That's just
standing up watching that game
that's
from
crazy.
the couch and be like, oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
And just Auburn's going to win the football game.
It's so good.
Oh my goodness.
Rest in peace, Rod Bramblett,
Yes, sir.
who passed away in 2019 on the call. They're the voice of the Auburn Tigers football, basketball, and baseball. And he absolutely crushed that. And the thing I've found, too, in so many times in play-by-play, you get in a cadence on plays you've seen happen before. Like when I was doing baseball, you have words for ground ball, fire to first, and there's one gone. You know, pop fly, right fielder ranges over, reaches up, makes the catch. But it's the moments where something happens that you've never seen before, that your brain has to figure out, like, oh, I don't have the choreography in my head of what to say when this happens because I've never seen this happen before. In a moment that big, to be ready for a play that is unprecedented in the history of college sports, and be ready for
in my opinion,
him to return it. It's incredible.
In my opinion, in those moments, the really good calls are the ones who are descriptive, really good in description, and then the ones that weave in a word, a phrase, or a moment just organic like
effortlessly,
that,
right?
Make these calls what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it. It's a good pick. These are all great, man. This is so much fun. All right, second round and third round picks, right? You've got back-to-back selections here.
Indeed, and I'm going to win this one today, boys.
Okay.
Because this one is January 4th, 1999, the first year of the BCS. It is the Fiesta Bowl. It's the last game that I call the man, John Ward, called. in a Volunteers football game as he would retire. And these are the closing moments.
Fans from everywhere. Here comes media from everywhere. You can count it down with us. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The national champion is clad in big orange. Tennessee 23, Florida State 16.
As the Volunteers win.
What's one of the few times that you hear Bill Anderson actually step on his call a little bit because he's just, so engrossed in it? It's a national championship. But I'm sorry. Pick. I'm going for the win today, boys.
I respect it.
Foot on necks. And listen, that was good Lord. I mean, who doesn't remember that if you don't live around here and aren't from here and aren't in Vols? I mean, woo, man,
so good.
Oh my gosh,
so
and that would become the last time that John Ward would call the football game.
That's right,
for the University of Tennessee, as he would months later retire.
Epic,
but
epic.
What a night!
The GOAT. John Ward, I love it. He was absolute best. Absolute best. All right, your third round pick, Red, is what?
My third round pick is Hello, Friends.
Oh.
A fantastic call by Nashvilleian Jim Nance.
I like
when
it.
Tiger Woods wins his first Masters in 1997.
Oh, the first Masters. I don't have that one.
Oh. The first Masters is a good one because this was on my list as well.
I'll find it for you.
You just had the return to glory in 2019 on there?
I did, yeah. Hold on. Stall for like 2 seconds.
Well, you want me to go ahead? You got to make your second round pick also.
All right, well, I'll come back to it then. All right, I will go back to John Ward because back in when, let me find the play. Good gracious, there's so many. I have 15 tabs open.
Yeah, you're spinning a lot of plates.
I'm surprised your computer's even working with that many tabs.
A lot
open.
of plates
back in 1995. Tennessee, Peyton Manning is the cornerback. They're playing Alabama. They beat Alabama 41-14. But you know what happened on the very first play?
My all-time favorite call by
This happened on the very first play.
This will be Manning. Back to throw. Across the middle. Pass complete. Ball down at the 35, to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. What did he do? All he did was score. Joey Kent. Touchdown on play number 1.
And that's what I mean by an excellent descriptor.
Man, it's so good.
With the emotion behind it. And our good friend J.K., Joey Kent.
That's right.
Woo!
41-14 in Legion Field against the Alabama Crimson Tide. A beatdown. Brent Doherty was in the building that day. He has reminded us at times that he is in the shot that they show on TV. They cut to the crowd, and he's in a group of people holding a Tennessee State flag in the stands. Brent Doherty there for that. Pretty cool. So I wish I could have grown up watching Tennessee beat Alabama like that. But anyway, I got to grow up for the Terrence Cody stuff, which is not going to be on my list. So anyway. All right. My third round pick. My goodness, I have so many on here. This is overwhelming in such a fun way. I'm going to go... you know what? Just for the sake of it, I'm going to double up on the Buck family. I do have 2 Joe Buck calls on my list. I'm going to go, though, with 2011, Game 6 of the World Series. And this is a tip of the cap to his dad, who, to Andy and Clarksville's point earlier, Minnesota Twins beat the Braves. Force Game 7 and go on to win the World Series. 91.
You say that like it hurt you, like you were there. You weren't even there
I was
yet.
6 years away.
I saw it and I hated it.
I was 6 years away from being born, but I digress. And Jack Buck, of course, had the call of "We will see you tomorrow night." Well, then in 2011 in Game 6, as David Freese hits a home run into center field to beat the Texas Rangers in extra innings, Joe Buck with a tip of the cap to Dad.
This, by the way, is the 63rd Game 6 in World Series history out of a total of 107 World Series.
I remember one, working it with your dad in 91. Kirby Puckett, Jack's famous call. We'll see you tomorrow night.
There's one inside, 2-0.
Nothing else. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Freese hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
There you go. They set it up literally earlier in the broadcast.
Yeah, it was a third inning whenever they were talking about
in the third inning, saying, "Oh, that was Jack's call back in the day." Okay. I wonder how much.
willed it.
I wonder if they talked about that like earlier that day, or if that just came up organically in the broadcast. And Joe in the back of his hand's like, "Ooh, that's a good idea."
I think it came up organically. Now, I'm just talking about. I don't think the two of them conversed about it.
Right.
And
they just talked
by
about
the
it
way,
in the broadcast.
let me say this: with my third round pick with Tiger's first Masters, I did not text that to you. I wrote it down, but I didn't text it to you. So that's on me, not on you.
Oh, you're good. No worries.
Yeah, I blame you.
So
no, he should. That's on me, not the producer.
2011.
So win
Joe
for the
Buck
ages is the one I was talking about with Tiger.
You know what? We've talked so much about the 90s Braves. Forget 91. Let's think about what happened in 1992. Sean McDonough on the call when one of the slowest men in baseball by the name of Sid Bream rounded third in Game 7 of the NLCS. I'm sorry, Jonathan Schaefer, but Sid slid, and Sean McDonough said he was safe.
Francisco Cabrera comes to the plate to bat for the pitcher. He hacked to the 2-0, now the 2-1. Line drive and a base hit! Just as the score of the tying run. Bream to the plate. And he is safe! Safe at the plate! The Braves go to the World Series! The unlikeliest of heroes wins the National League Championship Series for the Atlanta Braves. Francisco Cabrera. And Atlanta pulls out Game 7 with 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Boy, do I remember that one, because I went bananas.
A little bit of a homer pick for me because I'm a diehard Braves fan, but I don't care. That is iconic. And as you guys know, as someone who has had a voice crack myself speaking in a big moment for an NSC, I beat myself up on that so much. And the more I listen back to mine and that one and anyone who's had like a big voice crack at a moment like that.
It happens.
I like it.
It happens.
It's authentic. It's real. And again, there are a lot of voices cracking around the South. As Sid Bream was rounding third, saying, "No, what are you doing?" And then also going to the plate. So Sid slide, my last pick.
All righty. Let's go back to Joe Buck. This was back in 2018.
Yeah.
This was going to the NFC Championship game. This was another type of miracle. I guess we're going to be on the miracle.
A lot of miracles in here.
Yeah, there are a lot of miracles. So today we're going to go with the Minnesota Vikings against the New Orleans Saints as Case Keenum to Stephon Diggs.
To save time, that's going to be where Keenum's going to try to work the ball on the boundary.
Keenum steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
It was on my list. It's a great one.
Absolutely.
It was a great one. I was sitting in a chapter meeting in my fraternity. I was one of the officers, so I was sitting in front of everyone watching this game on my laptop on mute and had to have a very muted reaction. Looking down on my laptop, like, did that just happen? And could not react to it at all. And was,
another job.
That's a core memory of literally where were you? And sorry, Vikings fans. But we got you on Kirby Puckett earlier. We gave you a shout out on that one, so we're good. All right, Rhett, your final pick. This has been awesome. These are all great.
My final pick, and you weren't able to find my final pick.
No, I was not.
Okay, that's fine. No worries, because Vols fans will remember this one. I love this one from November, I believe it was 28th of 1980, Tennessee at Vanderbilt, right down the street here. And Willie Gault takes a 98-yard kickoff return to the house. In fact, John Ward, and I quote, says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Willie Gault is running all the way to the state capitol."
So good.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about with just the play style I admire in a play-by-play voice. That because, I mean, here they are. You know, he wouldn't have said that if they were playing in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'd been funny, but it was applicable because they're just down the street here.
Mm-hmm.
But
well done. Yeah, that's good.
That's my fourth and final pick is John Ward. I got two picks from John Ward out of my four because that's just kind of where I'm at.
I love it. All right, so Rhett Bryan goes Music City Miracle by Mike Keith. The national champion is Clad in Big Orange by John Ward. Tiger Woods winning the 97 Masters by Jim Nance. Willie Gault, ladies and gentlemen, is running all the way to the state capitol, as he said. John Ward is his final pick. Justin goes Miracle on Ice by Al Michaels. The Kick 6 by Rod Bramblett. Play Number 1 by John Ward. And the Minneapolis Miracle by Joe Buck. I'm going Jack Buck's call of Kirk Gibson's 1988 World Series home run. The Band is on the Field by Joe Starkey. We Will See You Tomorrow Night by Joe Buck. And Sid's Slide by Sean McDonough. Well done, all. It's very good. What did we miss? 615-737-1045 as we wrap up the show next. Wrapping up the show here on Ramon and Will. Rhett Bryan, Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, as Lucas Panzica and Robert Walsh get ready to take over here in just a moment. That was a really fun draft on best broadcast calls, and now we can make some undrafted picks, and so can you at 615-737-1045. Let's go to Gary first up on best broadcast calls. What's up, Gary?
Not much, buddy. Hey, I've just enjoyed listening to you guys. I remember most of those calls myself as a former coach. But one of the funniest ones that I was actually listening to and actually watching when it happened is a Peach Belt Conference game between University of Montevallo and Young Harris. And if you ever Google it, you'll find it. But we're at the Montevallo men's basketball teams at the free throw line. The girls, I'd coached the girls from Montevallo. I was sitting up in the stands watching. And the announcer's going, well, the game's over. Like, I don't know, like maybe 3 seconds left, and we're shooting a free throw. He says, it's just over with, and that's just, just how it goes. And about that time, the guy missed a shot. The guy rebounded the ball and threw it to the other end, and it went in.
Oh,
and he said, "Oh, Lordy, forgive me. I counted my chickens before they hatched." And
Nice.
It just went viral. I mean, so if you get a chance to pull it up and listen to it, you can find it on Bleacher Report, I think. But it was hilarious. And being able to sit there and watch it. I mean, of course, it was against us. We wound up winning in overtime. Montevallo did, but the gym just went crazy, as you can imagine. And then, but to hear it on the radio was even funnier. So
that's
you can't
awesome.
Listen to it.
Good
I
stuff.
enjoyed listening to you guys. You guys are awesome, man.
Thank you,
Thanks
Gary.
for the
Appreciate the call. It's good stuff. A little off the beaten path, but sounds pretty good. I like it. Adam, up next on Best Broadcast Calls. What's up, Adam?
Not much. Just headed to work. You guys talked to a lot of modern day and a lot of Regency, but I think you got to go to the way back machine on this one. The 1951, October 3rd, the shot heard round the world.
Yeah.
The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. You go back and watch that video and talk about emotion and getting caught up in the moment. You can just hear the elation in the call. So I think that's got to be up there because that was 1951. Shoot, my dad wasn't even born for another 2 years. But that was one of those calls that my dad would always bring up watching classic baseball with him.
I like it.
Good call.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Very good one. 1951 in the Polo Grounds. I love it.
Yep.
Darius up next on Best Broadcast Call. What's up, Darius?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Great.
All right. I'll try to make this quick. So first off, I wanted to give Jayhawk a little bit of advice. So as a first-time father too, I know you're probably busy fielding calls, but I'll try to make this real quick. But if the
Oh, I think you accidentally hung up on him. Justin's answering so many calls back here.
He hung up on me.
Oh, dang. Darius, we'll get you back on. Hang on with us 1 second. If you're still listening, if you're still out there, call us back, and we'll get you back on real quick. Let's go to Daryl in the meantime, though, for Best Broadcast Calls. What's up, Daryl?
Hey, happy Friday, guys. Yeah, I'll get them in real quick because I know you're short on time. I've got the Derrick Henry 99-yard touchdown run against the Jags, and then the Hail Mary Josh Dobbs to Juwan.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate the call.
The Dobb Nail.
That's right. The Dobb Nail boot.
Nail boot.
Juwan Jennings. Oh, so good. Real quick, other ones I had. The Return to Glory, Jim Nantz, 2019 Masters for Tiger Woods. I had Down Goes Frazier, 1973.
That was one I didn't use, and that's when George Foreman knocked down Joe Frazier, I think, 5 times in that fight in 73. Down goes Frazier.
We did it yesterday. Ian Dark's call of Landon Donovan's goal against Algeria in 2010.
Yeah.
Go, go, USA. You could not write a script like this. That one's up there. Little bit obscure. Martin Tyler's call of Sergio Aguero's Premier League winning goal at the very end for Manchester City. I believe that was 2012. Aguero is unbelievable.
Okay, yes, that's obscure. Let's go back to Darius.
That's all I got. Yeah, let's go to Darius, who's called back in with us. Thank you, Red. Darius, sorry about that. What you got for us?
Okay, real quick. So I'll make this real quick. So what my obscure call is, so I know this is just broadcast in general. My favorite broadcast of all time, or my favorite call of all time, and I don't know how this has not went on, but Robert Walter probably will appreciate me, but Jim Ross's call of Undertaker versus Mankind and the Hell of a Cell match where he throws Mankind, or Undertaker throws Mankind off him, he says, "Oh my God, he killed him. My God, he killed him. His body's broken in half." That is one of my favorite calls of all time. So
nice.
Just wanted to throw that one out there. Y'all have a good weekend.
Sure. Yeah, you too. And
Thank you,
hey,
Darius.
wrestling has its place in calls, and that is one of them. He broke him in half.
I love it. Any other quick ones undrafted on the way out? We got about 1 minute.
I'm going to give Bert a little shout out for this one because he showed me this one. It's Gus Johnson. It was Ohio State versus Maryland, I believe, and this is about Denzel Ward.
Wartenschlager to the sideline, caught. First down. Woo! What a hit! Denzel Ward! You got barbecue back there? And you didn't invite me? Hurt my feelings.
That's so good. I forgot about that one.
I was cracking.
Oh, I love Gus Johnson, man. I just love him. You know his one on Chris Johnson, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can we find it real quick, or do we have time of what it? I feel, I don't know. If we don't have time, it's okay.
Some people in the chat are saying, great job, Sloman.
Coach great job, Sloman. Yeah.
Now late Coach definitely. Mack when the Titans won the AFC South Division in COVID.
Absolutely.
COVID year.
I like it. Recent one, Mike Breen's call of the Knicks winning the NBA Finals last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. After 53 years, Knicks are NBA champions once again. I like it. Good stuff. That was fun. That was
and
really
a fun way to wrap up the week.
Yeah, definitely. We don't have to play the Gus Johnson one. Or, unless you have it.
I found it.
You found it? All right, here you go. We'll play this one out.
Gets his shoulder square. Watch out. He's got getting away from the cop speed. They're 2 of 9 on conversions. Here's the hand.
Oh, that was a compilation.
That was it. So Gus Johnson's just
good luck to Mama and Papa Hawk here.
Best of luck.
Oh,
praying for you.
Yeah, we're excited. Yeah,
excited for you.
It's a dream come true for real. Yeah, and now I'm about to get all teary-eyed.
For new dad to be, Justin Hawkins, Rhett Bryant, I'm Will Bowling. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Lucas Panzeek and Robert Walsh are next.